He's putting on a clinic. Oh, my. That ball is gone. Jose Slam. That ball's going to carry out of here.
Normally, capacity at Tropicana Field is just a tiny 25,000, and they seldom come close to filling it. But for this postseason game, they've opened up some 10,000 additional seats, and those here have come to roar for Game 3 of this ALDS, presented by Geico on MLB Network, the Astros and the Rays. Hi, everybody. Bob Costas in between the postseason battery of Joe Girardi and Jim Cott. The pitching pairing, Charlie Morton, 16-6 overall, will go against his old Astro teammates trying to keep the Rays alive. Zach Greinke, 18-5 between the Diamondbacks and the Astros. 8-1 with Houston. Will try and close it out and complete the sweep.
What a pitching matchup we have, Bob, and everyone out there. Two of the elite pitchers in all of baseball. Zach Greinke, as Bob said, 8-1 since he joined the Astros. You're going to see a different pitcher than Zach's early years. A lot of change-ups. He'll even change up off his change-up. He'll add a big, slow curve to his repertoire. 11 days since he started. I wonder how that'll affect his control. Now, on the other hand, Charlie Morton, he will need control of his Uncle Charlie. That's baseball terms for a curveball. Charlie will also has changed his style, and they will see a lot of high fastballs pitching against his former mates. Advice to Charlie, don't look him in the eye. They're not your friends today.
A bit of history, counting the LCS before it became a best-of-7. There have been 81 occasions when a team has been down 0-2 in a best-of-5 series. 71 times they did not win the series. We're talking about coming back, coming off the bat from 0-2, winning the next 3, and winning the entire series. It's happened 10 times in 81 previous situations like this. Most recently, Joe Girardi's Yankees against the Indians in 2017.
Yeah, so I asked Kevin Cash, as I've been there and done that, what'd you say to your team? He said, because we're a young team, we decided not to say anything because I thought it might add a little stress to them. But look, win one game. Over August and September, they were 20-7 in this building. Win one game, get some momentum, and go get them tomorrow.
The Astros have had momentum all season long, it seems, and one big reason is Alex Bregman, who might wind up being this year's American League MVP. With more on Bregman, here's Tom Verducci.
Well, thanks, Bob. Alex Bregman hit 41 home runs this year, 32 to the pull field. Nobody in baseball hit more. How does he do it? He is the king of backspin. And the Rays found that out in Game 2. This fastball from Blake Snell, he deposited into the Crawford boxes in left field. Backspin gives the ball more carry. Bregman gets it two ways. Number one, by getting the knob of the bat out in front of the pitch, and then making sure the contact is out in front of the plate. StatCast AI, powered by AWS, gives us the major league leaders in pulled home runs. Pay attention to the average distance. Bregman has learned when your home park is Minute Maid Park, you don't have to hit it far to get it out. Bob?
Watching the Doosan ALDS telecast on MLB Network.
Home run for Jose Altuve.
Verlander strikes out the side of the seventh. Houston Astros win Game 1.
King is more.
Strikeout number 50 for Garrett Cole. Astros win Game 2.
Charlie Morton getting set to face this lineup for the Astros, presented by Geico. The Astros had the best run differential in the major leagues, plus 280 against their opposition, in the course of going 107 and 55. A big part of that, Alex Bregman, tied at 41 with Nelson Cruz of the Twins for third in the American League, behind Kansas City's Jorge Soler, who led the league, and Mike Trout of the Angels, who was second. Tonight's first pitch, or this afternoon's we should say, will be presented by YouTube TV. Try it free, terms apply. As recently as April of 2017, Charlie Morton's career record was 26 games under 500. Since then, he's gone 44-14 to improve his lifetime mark to 91-87. Went 14-7 for the world champion Astros in 2017. Won Game 7 of the ALCS against Joe Girardi's Yankees and Game 7 of the World Series against the Dodgers. Then last year, 15-3 before finding himself in Tampa, where he went 16-6 this season. George Springer to start it against him. He hit 39 home runs this year. Swings on the first pitch, bounces it to Adames at short, and there's the first out.
It's a great start for Charlie Morton, because I think it's important that he gets deep into this game, because if it moves to a game 4, they're probably going to bullpen it. Tampa would, so they don't want to use too many guys today.
See Charlie's pitch selection, the curveball, which last 4 or 5 years he's been encouraged and has done it, used that a lot more. The four-seam fastball, folks, is the high fastball that pitchers get up into the mid to high 90s.
And in Morton's case, he usually sits around 97 with that four-seam. To offset what can be a devastating curveball. The former MVP Altuve takes ball 1. First half of the season, he hit just .262. In the second half, perhaps finally rounding into shape and putting the effects of last season's knee injury behind him. In the second half, he hit .325 to finish at .298. Hit 21 of his 31 homers for the season after the All-Star game.
Well, you see Charlie Morton come in with that fastball in Altuve, and he's a guy that dives. So I think it's really important. He loves to get his arms extended and pull the baseball. So you see Charlie, he will go into some of these hitters. He'll go into Springer as well, and he'll try to go into Brantley on the left side.
That's out of play.
And when Joe says he dives, from a pitcher's standpoint, when you see a hitter dive toward that outside corner, you want to push him off the plate. You're not interested in hitting him. You want him to move his feet, take away that aggressiveness, and open up that outside corner.
You want to make him think about how hard are you going to dive out there when I throw that breaking ball in there. Don't dive too hard, because you might get a fastball inside that might knock you down.
Morton has his sign from Travis d'Arnaud, and Altuve rips one foul.
I haven't seen Uncle Charlie yet.
Well, you're going to see it, I think, pretty soon.
All fastballs.
And I like what he's done with Altuve, because with the way Altuve dives, if he gets it inside on the inside corner, really about the only place he can hit it is foul. And it's like getting a strike on a pitch you don't have to worry about him doing damage on.
With Michael Brantley on deck, Altuve awaits a 2-2 pitch from Morton. Full count. The plate umpire is Mark Wegner. James Hoy at first. Jerry Mules at second. DJ Rayburn at third. 6 umpires, of course, in the postseason. John Tumpane on the left field line. Bruce Dregman in right.
With an Astro team that was #1 in fewest strikeouts, I mean, if you're Charlie Morton, I know it's off the plate, but man, I think I got to have that pitch.
I hear you. And this is what guys like Altuve do, like a lot of great hitters. They will foul off good pitches, and the way the game is operated today, managers pay so close attention to pitch counts. These guys can be frustrated. Sometimes you just want them to hit the first pitch and hit a long fly to right or something. Not have to work and beat.
It isn't always the case here, but as you can tell, they're amped for this game at the Trop.
They are.
Hoping there'll be another one tomorrow. A drive to center field. Kiermaier goes back. He goes way back to the wall, and it's gone. Jose Altuve, who took Tyler Glasnow deep in Game 1 in Houston, does it again against his old mate Charlie Morton, and it's 1-0 Astros.
Well, I think sometimes as a pitcher and a catcher, you can outthink yourself thinking that Altuve will be guessing, curveball.
Yeah.
And the one thing I've noticed about these Houston Astros hitters, they have stayed on the fastball this whole series, whether it was against Glasnow or against Snell. They're staying on the fastball, and they're basically taking everything else if they can, unless it's a strike.
Here's Brantley, who hit .311 with 22 home runs.
We see this fastball. He tried to double up away, and this one he didn't get away. And Altuve, which you don't say about a lot of guys, is a great hitter above his weight. He finds a way to get the head of the bat to the ball and not swing under it.
With that small strike zone, almost everything is high to him. And I wonder, Joe, when you mentioned that from a catcher's standpoint, you know what Charlie's strengths are, but sometimes you just go with what your strengths are and not worry about the hitters. Just pay attention to what you do.
I think you have to pay attention to what you do and go with your strengths and not, get into your weaknesses in a sense. And I remember David Cohn saying we'd be going through these meetings, we'd talk about, well, this guy's a good slider hitter, and David Cohn had a great slider. And Coney would say, whose slider? Not my slider. You might somebody else. You got a great curveball, and you just threw a really good fastball hitter, like 9 in a row.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Brantley steps out. So many bold-faced names on this Astro team. Michael Brantley, after a decade in Cleveland, often an all-star, slips in almost unobtrusively. Key acquisition in the offseason. And what a plus he's been, both statistically and just by his presence.
What I like, and I'm sure Joe does, watching Michael Brantley, he may have as quiet a hands. I mean, there is no excess movement there. It matches his personality.
Well, his father taught him to get your foot down early, too, right? Not a lot of movement in his lower half. He just gets the barrel of the bat to the ball. He's only struck out 66 times this year.
But he strikes out here. They'll have to throw to first to make it official.
Well, Kitty, as we well know, left-handers like the ball down and in, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's been a known fact for a long time.
Down and in above the knee, not below the knee.
Right, so you tempt them. You tempt them. You say, well, here's your fastball down and in. Here's your fastball down and oh,
yeah.
Right below the zone.
And so hard to lay off.
So now Alex Bregman in the cleanup spot. He finished the year at .296 after hitting .372 combined in August and September and making a push for the MVP award. We all know Mike Trout is the best player on the planet. But a pinched nerve in his foot put him on the shelf after September 7th and opens the door for Bregman to perhaps claim the trophy. 41 home runs, 112 RBIs, and just as importantly, with Carlos Correa hurt, he started 59 games at shortstop. That versatility was a huge plus.
And interesting enough, you don't hear people talk a lot about that, what he did at shortstop. Actually hit for a higher average at short than he did at third.
As Tom Verducci pointed out, all the home runs he pulled at Minute Maid Park, but you can see what Charlie's doing now. Dots the outside corner, and then he runs that fastball in. But you can bet he's going to try to live on the outside part of the plate, try to keep him from pulling it.
The 1-1. Breaking ball swung on and missed.
I mean, that's the great curveball that he has. It almost starts right at you and ends up on the outside corner. Starts at his front leg and ends up on the outside. He's got so much sweep to it that it's really difficult for right-handers to put a good swing on it.
Two and two. Curveball is so often his put away pitch. Let's see what he does on the 2-2. It swerves outside and the count runs full.
You know, Kitty, we saw a lot of that in Oakland, that he had a hard time commanding his curveball for enough strikes. And he has to throw enough of them for strikes that when they see it and they recognize it, they think it's going to be a strike and they'll change it.
And he walks it.
I think that's another thing that's really impressive about Bregman, leading the American League in walks, 119. I mean, just, he's a complete hitter. You know, you talk about power, average, he walks, he doesn't strike out. It's really been impressive the year that he's had.
His on-base percentage was .423 during the regular season. And as a team, the Astros led the majors in walks and had the fewest strikeouts, but they were one of the teams that topped the previous record of 267 home runs as a team. So you have to really search, almost with a microscope, to find a flaw for this team.
They don't run enough?
That's
about it.
Yordan Alvarez, another huge plus.
Yeah.
Makes his debut on the 9th of June and is odds on to be the Rookie of the Year.
I don't think there's a deeper first 7 anywhere in baseball.
No, because of the way they put the ball in play and the way they hit for power, there is not a deeper. I guess you'd call it the front 7.
Yeah.
Out of play. Alvarez was tearing it up at AAA Round Rock, and he wasn't fazed by moving to a higher league. He hit .313 with 27 home runs, and his OPS for the uninitiated, on-base percentage plus slugging, is the highest for a rookie with more than 300 at-bats in the history of baseball.
Can I hear some of those names that he passed?
Joe Jackson, who didn't even realize what OPS was in 1911, Aaron Judge 2 years ago, and Ted Williams in his rookie year of 1939. Elite company.
Yeah, interesting thing that at the time when he kind of came up, the leader of that pack was Brandon Lowe, who was the second baseman for Tampa and had a really good first half, but ended up getting hurt and missed a lot of the second half.
Two out, one on, one in, and the 0-2 pitch.
That's a pitch you talked about earlier, Joe. That's what Charlie will try to do here, is throw that curve below the knees in the dirt. So tempting for a left-hand hitter to go at it. Or now is why he's using that high fastball.
Yeah. I think eventually he has to go up here, and a lot of times they like to go up and away to Alvarez or up and in. Just didn't get it high enough. Yeah. He's got to get a little bit higher. That ball between the thigh and the waist, he's going to crush it.
That was Morton's 25th pitch of this first inning.
Yeah, it's not going according to plan.
No.
But however you have to win the game for Kevin Cash, you do it. And you worry about tomorrow.
We asked him what happens if you win and force a 4th game. He says, we're going to bullpen the bleep out of it.
And I'll tell you who the starter is once we get through today.
A little bouncer to the left side. Diaz fields, throws, and it gets away. Scooting for third is Bregman. Alvarez is on his way to second. Lots of foul territory here. Bregman with a wide turn as Ji-Man Choi fires to the plate. And the Astros have runners at second and third on a ball that could have ended the inning. E5 in Yandy Diaz, who had 2 home runs in the wild card game against Oakland. You give up some defense in return for his bat, and this time it hurt the Rays.
Well, he's had a bad foot, and I think it's been harder for him to move around. They love his bat. They love what he's done offensively. It's a ball that Choi's going to catch most of the time. It didn't quite bounce as high as he thought it was going to, and it gets by him, and now we're just adding pitches to this pitch total.
And you suddenly decrease your percentage, your chances of winning, because you almost have to play perfect baseball against this team to beat them. Tampa does.
And now you're facing a hitter in Gurriel, who's a great strike breaking ball hitter. And he's also really good at hitting breaking balls out of the zone. So you have to be careful when you face Gurriel. I would think at some point they will go into him in this series hard right here. But he's a good breaking ball hitter for strikes.
Kyle Snyder, the pitching coach, ends his visit to the mound. And up steps Gurriel at 298 with 31 homers of his own. and 104 RBIs. And a called strike. Even if you adjust this year's numbers, not just for the Astros, but around baseball for inflation, you look up and down this lineup, even as you get toward the bottom, you got guys with high batting averages and lots of power.
Well, you talk about that. I mean, Correa, who's hitting 7, he only played in 75 games and had 21 homers and 59 RBIs. I mean, do the math. Most everyday players are going to play 150 games.
Yeah.
I mean, he might be fighting his teammate for MVP as well.
Well, Correa, who's on deck and is hitting 7th in A.J. Hinch's lineup this afternoon, hit cleanup virtually the entire season when they won the World Series 2 years ago. That's how deep they are.
Well, you know the guys that are hitting 5, 6, and 7? They could hit 2, 3, or 4, 3, 4, and 5 in most lineups in baseball.
The 2-1 pitch. Had him out in front.
Now, that goes to my point that you mentioned earlier, Joe, with David Cohn. Gurriel's a good curveball hitter, but is he a good Charlie Morton curveball hitter?
I don't imagine a lot of people are.
No, I don't think so either.
I'd like to meet that guy.
And there's Uncle Charlie right there.
Another full count.
See, and that's the breaking ball that's not competitive. And what I mean by not competitive is the hitter sees it as the ball right out of his hand.
Starts out outside.
He almost has to start it at them or on the inside corner to get them to swing at it. And that's easier said than done. It's you know, I'm not saying that, you know, he's not competing at the highest level. It's just a feel, and it's a release point that he has to adjust a little bit.
Third full count of this first inning, and the 31st pitch for Morton is a curveball popped up. Brandon Lowe makes the catch on the Altuve homer. The Astros take a 1-0 lead. They leave 2, and the Rays come up down 2-0 in the series and 1-0 in the game. Rays. Austin Meadows got his final regular season average up to 291 with 33 home runs with a huge September. It's Yandy Diaz to start it against Zach Greinke. Diaz, as you may recall, ambushed Sean Manaea of the A's for a game-opening homer in the wild card game, then hit another one off him later. Ball and a strike. Zach Greinke, like his opponent Charlie Morton, is 35 years old in his 16th big league season. Started with the Royals, won a Cy Young for them in 2009, then the Brewers, the Angels, the Dodgers, the D-backs, and then midway through this season on to the Astros. And he finishes Diaz off in a hurry.
He owns the strike zone, doesn't he, Joe? You saw that strikeout to walk ratio. I mean, he is, I guess this era's Greg Maddux.
I agree.
Yeah, he can spin it. He can locate it to all 4 quadrants of the strike zone.
Here's the other thing, too. Zach Greinke is different than Cole and Verlander. 2 high ball pitchers, a lot of high fastballs. Greinke's going to live downstairs in the zone. Mark Wegner, the home plate umpire, and I think the umpire has been great in this series, is more of a low ball umpire.
That's good.
And that's good for Greinke.
Right.
Ball 1 to Meadows. Well, Greinke's 4-seamer for the year was only around 90. That's low by modern big league standards. So you get a contrast between him and Verlander and Cole. A heck of a contrast, even though they're all 3 right-handers.
Yeah, and their bullpen has a lot of high octane too as well. So you're absolutely right, Bob. There's that great changeup, Kitty. You see that?
It's that little Ivan Lendl grunt at the end of it. And as Bob said, he barely hits 90. There you see the average velocity, 89.9. But if your off-speed pitches are about 10 miles an hour slower than that, that's what makes them effective.
But his aren't. His changeup isn't, which is unusual. But he's got such great depth on it and great arm speed.
Here's the thing. one of many things about the Astros. They win the World Series in 2017. They got Justin Verlander literally seconds before the trade deadline to help put them over the top. Yeah, and you had to pay for it eventually in a 7-game LCS loss to A.J. Hinch's team. But they didn't stop there. They added Garrett Cole. They added Michael Brantley. They went after Greinke. They went after Presley and Osuna to bolster their bullpen. And Greinke starts the afternoon with a pair of strikeouts. First Diaz, then Meadows. So, talk about not resting on your laurels. Jeff Luhnow, A.J. Hinch, and this whole organization, including owner Jim Crane, who is willing to open up the purse strings, they are looking at long-term success.
Yeah, and you talk about two of the best acquisitions for hitters as free agents. You got to look at LeMahieu and Brantley. Yeah. And they said Brantley's had a huge effect on a lot of the hitters because of his calmness and his preparation. And Springer is one of those guys that he has helped. And he was telling the story about Michael Brantley when he was at the All-Star game. He noticed everyone went up to him to ask, what do you see off this guy? How do you hit this guy? And I thought that was interesting.
Down to third base, Bregman. Across the diamond. Gurriel stays on the bag. That retires Pham. And the Rays go in order in the first. After one, looking for the sweep. Houston leads it 1-0. The American Series is presented by Doosan, official partner of Major League Baseball. This MLB Network telecast is presented by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. 1-0 Astros as we go to the second at Tropicana Field. From Minute Maid Park to Tropicana Field. So in this series, the baseball isn't the only thing that's juiced.
Right. I kind of thought that was coming.
The orange juice series?
Yeah.
Yuli Gurriel. That was the 32nd pitch of this afternoon by Charlie Morton. Meanwhile, Zach Greinke got through the bottom of the first, throwing just 9.
And that is a point worth making when you mention the contrast in the pitches. Because I always felt every game had a rhythm as a starting pitcher. And if the opposition pitcher had a long first inning like Charlie did, I want to get out there, get him out in a hurry, get him back out on the mound as quickly as possible. And that's what Greinke did.
His 2-0 pitch fouled away.
I tell you what, you think about Correa, what he's done in this series. He made a great play the other night to start the game. He's got 3 hits and 8 at-bats. He had 10 at-bats from the middle of August on. And to be able to, and he didn't play the last 4 or 5 days of the season, to be able to do what he's done is pretty amazing against some really good pitching.
When you can hit, you can hit.
I guess.
There's that two-seamer that Charlie ran in on the hands. See it break the bat right in half, so that'll open up the outside corner for him. Charlie's not a to and fro guy like Greinke. He's an in and out guy.
And up and down.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know, that's one of those curveballs that kind of buckles you a little bit because he just saw that fastball in and he thinks, and you're not going to hit that. Oh, you see the little jelly leg?
That's
got a little jelly leg.
Right. Pitchers love that.
The 2-2 to Correa. Got him looking. Correa wants a word with the crew chief, Mark Wegner, back at the plate before he walks off.
I thought it was a perfect pitch, actually. You know, when you look at it, you don't see the K zone. I mean, it just touches the corner, and it's the perfect pitch. It's a pitch that's almost unhittable.
Yeah, you could see in that shot, it came across the front part of the outside corner, which the box can't always show you.
It brings up the catcher, Robinson Chirinos. Hit a homer off Morton this past August at Minute Maid Park. Charlie was 1-1 against his old Astro teammates this year. He beat them here in April, lost to them there in August. It's a completely different set of circumstances, but the season opened for these teams here in this ballpark late March into early April, a 4-game series. The Astros won the first. The Rays won the next 3. So they can tell themselves, yeah, we can beat these guys 3 in a row.
Just don't lose the first one.
Yeah, well, if we're starting from now, they've already lost the first 2 in this series. In August, they played 3 in Houston, and A.J. Hinch's team took 2 of 3 from Kevin Cash's club then. So for the season, the Rays actually won 4 out of 7 in the regular campaign.
And over the last 5 or 6 years, they have a winning record against them as well. So they have played them tough. This is not an easy place to play.
Well, it's a quirky ballpark. Strange ground rules, nooks and crannies, odd angles in the outfield.
Well, we've heard of a 3-ring circus. This got 4 rings.
Yeah.
So we got the rules today from Larry Young, the longtime umpire, going over all the, if it hits this ring or if it hits this ring.
Or if it hits the catwalk.
The things hanging down from the rings, speakers.
We'll let you know the ground rule if and when it happens. And it has happened. Did he lay off? They check it first. He didn't go. That's James Hoy at first base.
Got to be the toughest call for an umpire to make, first base umpire, when you have a breaking ball pitcher like that. I think the Astros got by with that one.
Yeah. Right on the borderline.
Yeah.
Trinos must have blocked a lot of balls when James Hoy's been behind.
Saved him, huh? Yeah.
Professional courtesy?
Yes.
As a former catcher, you'd know. 2-2.
Yeah, that's I don't know. Charlie had told me yesterday in his press conference, I said, is it more difficult to spin the ball here at Tropicana Field? He said, yes, because it's not as humid as Minute Maid. It's kind of cool with the air conditioning. So maybe he's got a little pine tar or something to help him grip that ball, but he doesn't spin it quite as well here as he does in other places.
The 2-2 to Chirinos. Another big breaking ball fouled off.
Well, here's the thing, though, with the extra people here, I don't know, it feels pretty hot in here to me.
It does, but
feels
I
more
think
humid.
if you're out there, you might feel a little air blowing toward the playing field.
Well, we always thought, when we come in here that the air blew out when they hit.
Sure.
It blew in when we were up. So
there have always been conspiracy theories about the old Astrodome, the Metrodome in Minneapolis, right?
Every ballpark. You start looking at home and road splits, you're like, wait a minute.
Another 2-2 pitch, and yet another full count.
Again, Mark Wagner's not going to give you a lot off the plate. He's not, but he's going to give you down in the zone, and I think that's a real advantage for Greinke today. And I know pitchers always want to know who they got behind home plate. They always do.
And so do you as a catcher.
Yes, I do.
And he walks him.
Yeah, that's walks are never good, but that's a bad walk, because when you get to the 8 and 9 guy here, no disrespect, but you just want to make them earn it. Because when you walk a guy like that, that means you're going to turn around and face Altuve and the better hitters at the top of the lineup.
Yeah, you're going to get George Springer, who had the highest slugging percentage of any leadoff hitter. So it's almost like facing a number 4 hitter.
Springer will be next as Reddick settles in. He hit .275 for the year with 14 home runs. Chirinos at first with 1 out. Third ball for a strike.
And here's the thing, Kitty. As a pitcher and a catcher, you have to understand what an umpire's zone, because Mark Wagner's zone is extremely consistent. Strikes are strikes, balls, balls. So you have to get a feel every day, and it's usually really close to the same, and understand what you're working with and try to use it to your advantage.
And that is keep the ball down around the knees.
Yeah.
I thought, and I believe you caught him, I thought a guy who could find out what the umpire would give you and pitch accordingly as well as anybody was Jimmy Key.
Yes.
Yeah.
I caught him. It was a lot of fun to catch.
Left-hander for the Yankees back in the mid-90s.
Won Game 6.
Yes, he did.
In '96. Down the right field line and fouled by plenty.
you can really get a good idea, you know, the type of power that Reddick has. Most of it is pull power, as you'll see Garcia deeper in right field, center's about medium, and left field they're in a little bit. So if he's going to hit a ball a long ways, it's going to be to right field.
Pitch number 47 already. Down and in. 1-2. That's DJ Rayburn, the umpire at third.
Again, borderline, but tough to call. Of course, as a pitcher, I always thought once that bat left your shoulder, there was an intent to hit.
Yeah,
so they're all ought to be strikes.
When you start to swing, when isn't there an intent
Exactly.
to hit? It's an interesting rule, that's for sure.
Well, by that definition, there should be no such thing as a check swing.
I agree.
And Reddick is punched out. Third strikeout for Morton.
That's the one thing that both these clubs do a lot of is striking hitters out. And, you know, you think about this pitch, it's a perfect fastball. I mean, it's even got a lot of the plate. I mean, it's a good pitch to hit, but the Rays struck out 27 of 54 outs in the first 2 games.
Exactly half.
And they've struck out twice already today. And even Houston struck out 10 in the first game. I mean, this is a really good Rays staff as well.
But here's what Verlander and Cole did in the first 2 games. 14 2/3 between them. No runs, 5 measly hits, a combined 23 strikeouts, 15 of them by Cole.
Yeah, his stuff was electric the other night. And now you're facing a guy that's more location and down in the zone.
So how good are the Astros? They have Greinke starting this game. He's their number 3 starter. Here's a guy who's won a Cy Young Award, finished second to Jake Arrieta in 2015 in a year when Greinke's ERA was well under 2, and he's your number 3 guy.
Yeah. Their rotation is really, really good, and there's some different looks there. And Greinke is a real student of the data, and they adjust it to their strengths.
You know what they say about Greinke? He's a different kind of personality. He doesn't want to be front and center. He thrived with the Dodgers as the number 2 guy behind Clayton Kershaw at the very height of Kershaw's career. And he likes being behind Verlander and Cole.
Well, he didn't do too bad here. He had 10 starts. He was 8-1. Not too bad.
After going 10-4 with the D-backs to begin the year. Here's Lau at second base. On to G-Man Choi, and that's that in the top half of the second. It remains 1-0 Houston. On the Doosan ALDS telecast on MLB Network, presented by Geico.
There's talk about playing some games in the future, maybe, and this is perhaps far-fetched, as far away as Montreal. Half of them, that's at least been floated, half a season there and half a season here. We'll see. G-Man Choi starts it in the bottom of the second. He hit .261 with 19 home runs.
Well, it's interesting. G-Man Choi is a rare 4th hitter that will bunt, and you'll see Bregman, even though he is shaded towards shortstop because he doesn't hit many balls down the third base line, he will bunt and he has to play in. With 2 strikes, you'll see him move back.
Roll to the right side. They've got the shift on. It's Altuve from the outfield grass to retire G-Man Choi. Actually, it isn't grass. That's just a baseball idiot.
Right.
The outfield grass. They have real dirt. They've replaced the sliding pans some years ago with real dirt. But it's an artificial surface of one kind or another.
Yeah, all fields these days are so well manicured. I noticed the Atlanta game the other day. Markakis hit a ball off the front of the plate, and it bounced over the first baseman's head into right field. They're all hitter friendly, the firm, fast infields.
Pitchers don't like that kid.
No, we used to like to let the grass
Let
grow.
the grass
man.
grow.
Say to the groundskeeper, take the day off. We'll pitch it today. I want that grass long.
But today there aren't nearly as many sinker ballers, so the grass is not as important as it was back in the day.
It would be to Greinke.
Avisail Garcia whistles one into center field. It drops for a base hit. The first of the afternoon for the Rays.
Well, So we heard the grunt from Greinke, but Garcia was able to pull his hands up in enough on this changeup. This is a changeup that he'll throw in, and it didn't quite have the sink, and it was up in the zone, and he was able to fight it off and keep his hands inside the ball, get the barrel to it, and hit a line drive for a base hit center field. And the interesting thing about the Astros shift more than any team in baseball, about 50% of the time. Tampa Bay, who was really the one that kind of made it popular with Joe Madden, is about 4th or 5th in the league. But what you'll see from Tampa is, which you don't see from too many teams, they'll put 4 outfielders in the outfield at times.
Kevin Cash does some creative things.
And it all comes from the statistics, the analytics, what they give you.
0-1 to Brandon Lau. Slow bouncer. Altuve charges. Takes the sure out at first, with Garcia taking second.
A little bit surprised there, Kitty. I mean, he had to see the base runner kind of pull up, that he could have pirouetted and at least went to second to get the out. I know it's a tougher play, but he had to understand that he had a lot of time. I mean, you see him, Garcia stops to wait to watch it go by.
You're right.
And sometimes I think that's where Altuve's height hurts him. It's harder for him to throw around base runners high or low to get the out.
Yeah, because he would have had to do the pirouette and then throw it to the outfield side of the bag and be able to see over the base runner.
And I notice he'll bounce a lot of double play balls, and I think he does it on purpose when turning double plays.
Well, Greinke's true to form, 5 outs. He has 2 strikeouts and 3 groundouts.
And I think if you're the Rays, this might be the guy you want up, because in the last time you faced him, he had a 2-run homer off him on a slow curve and had a base hit RBI single with the slider. See if Greinke attacks him differently.
Tried to sneak the cheese by him, and you don't see him go up very often.
In late August in Houston, Greinke got a no decision against the Rays. Had kind of a rough outing. His defense didn't help him in that particular game. Went 5 2/3, gave up 5 runs, 6 hits, 2 homers, one of them by d'Arnaud. A no decision for him in a game the Rays eventually won 9-8. So he was 0-1 for the Astros against the Rays. His opponent today, Charlie Morton, split 2 decisions for the Rays against the Astros.
Greinke's a lot of times will mess with his grips, depending on how he's feeling every day and trying to get the most out of his stuff. There's a lot of weapons to go to.
And he hits d'Arnaud. So a 1-out single by Garcia. A 2-out hit by pitch sends d'Arnaud to first. 2 on, 2 out.
And it looked like this ball didn't cut enough. A lot of his fastballs have cut, and he'll try to front hip the right-handed hitters, and d'Arnaud doesn't move.
Yeah, that one spun like a Smith mixer, right?
It just didn't move.
Now, isn't Greinke a guy that can go tons of innings without ever hitting a batter?
Yeah.
He doesn't hit many.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't walk batters. He doesn't hit batters. He's tough with runners in scoring position.
In terms of pitching in tight, that's in stark contrast to Charlie Morton, his opponent today, who plunked 12 hitters this year and has led the league in most guys hit 4 different times.
Well, he's got so much run when he throws that fastball into right-handers, and I'm sure most of them are unintentional, but sometimes that ball will take off when you're going into righties.
The 1-0 pitch to Kiermaier. The 2 guys at the bottom of the order, Kiermaier, the center fielder, hitting 8th, and Willy Adames, the shortstop, hitting 6th, are below league average when it comes to offensive production. But they're both way above average when it comes to defense. More valuable with the leather than with the lumber. Kiermaier just a superior center fielder. You see him constantly on the highlight reels.
And here's about the thing about Kevin Kiermaier. He had a pretty good first half where he hit 252 with 10 home runs. He really struggled the second half. And he ended up hurting his thumb sliding, and I think that had a lot to do with it. And in the last 5 years, he's saved more runs than any player in baseball.
Greinke's 2-1 pitch. A high drive to deep right center field. Back goes Reddick. Back near the wall. It is out of here. Well, he knew what to do with the bat that time. So much for the good field little hit label. A 3-run homer that puts the Rays in front 3-1. And the Trop comes alive. Adames takes a ball.
Well, it looks like he left the changeup up. He got him to swing through one. This one didn't do much. Right down the middle. And it doesn't really feel like a changeup because it's not that big of discrepancy between his fastball. So I think location becomes that much more important that it has to be below the zone.
See the hands lead and barrels it up.
Meanwhile, in the on-deck circle, with Yandy Diaz, who started the game at third base, due up next, the leadoff man in the starting lineup, there's Matt Duffy. So we have to assume that there is something wrong with Diaz, and we'll try and find out what it is. And we also have to assume that even if Adames makes the third out here, that Duffy's going to third base when we move to the third inning.
Joe had mentioned earlier, you see the guard he wears around his foot. He's had a leg injury.
So many of these Rays hitters have hit balls off their front leg and been on the DL.
A shot to right center. Springer in pursuit. Springer looking up. It's off the wall. Adames on his way to second with a 2-out double.
Kitty, we talked about how Greinke relies on location, in and out and down, and he has made mistakes in the middle of the plate about thigh high. And you think about it, he's thrown 26 pitches, he's given up 3 runs. And you look at Charlie Morton, he's thrown 52 and only 1. I mean, his center cut.
Yeah. Well, I mentioned he hasn't started in 11 days, and when you're a control pitcher, I don't care if you pitch sim games, that might be the first thing to show up as a lack of command of your pitches.
But I would ask you, okay, the first inning, his command was impeccable.
Yeah.
Right? So don't you throw that out the window after that?
Well, I think the first inning you're more, hey, I'm going to throw strikes. And maybe now he gets a base runner and he's trying to get a little more fine than he was in the first inning. Might be a lame excuse. The rest, who knows?
Okay, so Yandy Diaz had been hobbled a little bit, sore left foot. Did start the game. Here's Matt Duffy to pinch hit for him. Now, when Duffy goes out to play third base, that's an upgrade defensively. But with just a 3-1 lead in the second inning, it's pretty early to make a defensive move. So I've got to think that it's the foot more so than the glove that's entering into Kevin Cash's thinking here.
I would have to agree with you. I mean, he's had problems with it. He got back the last day of the season, so he hasn't had a lot of time. And you know, it's not what you want if you're the Rays, but Duffy's a pretty good player. Kevin Cash has got what he wants, though. He's got a 3-1 lead, and he's got a bullpen that's rested and is very good.
A little check swing. Greinke is on it. He's won 4 Gold Gloves. Easy play for him. Shovels it over to Gurriel, and that's that. But before all is said and done, in the Rays' second, they score 3 times on the 3-run blast from Kevin Kiermaier. And after 2.
These are happy if their fins are flapping. I mean, you were a marine biologist before this, weren't you?
I was not. I cannot comment with authority about the habits of stingrays, except that you ought to keep your distance from them if you're scuba diving. Matt Duffy stays in the game, plays third base. Diaz is out. Altuve homered as the second batter of the game. Charlie Morton pitching with a lead, the first lead the Rays have enjoyed in this series.
If you're Kevin Cash, you would love to get 6 out of Charlie Morton. See if you can get him to settle down. You know, he's at 54 pitches already. But you'll take whatever you can get as long as he's not giving up runs.
I love that pitch before that curve strike, and then he made Altuve move his feet. Made him, and then missed again. But
saw that graphic, 52 innings in the first 2 innings, the most he's had all year long. I mean, that's how controlled he has been. He has been an outstanding starter for the Rays. Definitely their ace all year long.
Altuve hits one off his fist, but it's well placed. It lands safely. He's on his way to second, and there'll be no play on him. He's in with a leadoff double. A homer and a double for Altuve.
hanging curveball, I think, Joe.
Yeah, he fisted a breaking ball. Yep. You're right.
And we say hanging curveball. The viewers that aren't familiar with that, instead of snapping and breaking, it just kind of spins up there like a Smith mixer.
And he left it up in the zone, which Altuve is such a great high ball hitter. But that's what Altuve couldn't do last year. He couldn't run. And he's such a different player. He's had a great second half. Just took off the second half. And it's because he's physically healthy. He's the player that we're used to seeing.
Yeah, as we mentioned earlier, he hit around 260 in the season's first half with 10 homers. 325 in the second half with 21 home runs. He's homered twice in this series already. And he just doubled to start the third. Brantley struck out his first time.
And again, just to tell you how difficult that is, Brantley's strikeout rate was really about the lowest in the American League. He only struck out 66 times in over 500 at bats. So he's tough to strike out. Gurriel's extremely tough to strike out. So Charlie Morton, you just need to get an out here.
We were talking, Joe, about Altuve's speed. There was a stretch earlier in his career, 6 straight seasons he stole 30 or more with a high of 56. He doesn't run like that anymore. He's 29 years old, still in the prime of his career, but the last year plus that knee has been bothering him. Plus the Astros can outpitch you, they can outscore you, outslug you, exactly. So they don't really look to run all that much. Brantley swings at the curveball, down and in. Altuve scoots to third on the swing and a miss by Brantley.
And that's just great heads-up base running, as the ball didn't get very far away from d'Arnaud. He had a hard time locating it, as you see, and he thought it was going to be down and in. He turned his head, and just Altuve being ready to run at any point. I can make this. And gets to third base, and that's big. With a strikeout pitcher on the mound, that's big.
They called it a wild pitch, which isn't all that fair to Charlie Morton, but that's the way it was scored.
What if they thought it hit Brantley?
Well, they're going to check on one thing or another.
Joe Espada, the bench coach for the Houston Astros.
Let's bring in Tom Verducci.
Well, I think there was some question here whether the Astros or the Rays believe that there was a foul tip there. You saw d'Arnaud did not respond to this ball immediately. That's why Altuve ran. There's clearly no contact there.
You know what, though, Tom?
But now it looks like it may have caught the foot.
Exactly.
Clearly, d'Arnaud gave the impression to the Rays dugout that the ball was dead by not going after it right away. And it is.
Yeah, it's a dead ball if you swing at it and it hits you and he has to go back. I was wondering why d'Arnaud reacted so strangely.
I'll tell you, that's heads up work by the Rays in their dugout, and an example of what replay can do, and an example of Charlie Morton's sharp curveball.
Yeah, so clearly Brantley swung over it. There was no contact with the bat. Now, it does hit his foot, but he has swung and missed.
Right.
So he doesn't go to first base.
Any ball that hits you is a dead ball.
Altuve returns to second. And the at-bat continues for Brantley, who's down in the count 1-2. Inside 2-2. Even though he's the opposition today, you know that Astros fans and the folks in the Astros dugout have a warm spot in their hearts for Charlie Morton.
No question.
Winner of Game 7 in the LCS in 2017. Winner of Game 7 in the World Series a couple of weeks after that. Bouncing ball foul.
You know, you keep bringing up these bad points, Bob.
Ah, sorry.
Winner of Game 7 in the ALCS. That's a bad topic.
How about the World Series, though?
Well, I had nothing to do with that, so I don't really care.
Exactly. Lance McCullers started the game. Brad Peacock came on. Then Chris Davinsky. Morton pitched the last 4. They already had the lead, but no one had. The starter hadn't qualified, so then it becomes up to the official scorer. Who pitched most effectively? He gave the win correctly to Charlie Morton.
Well, he went 4 innings and gave up 1 run, but he beat the Yankees.
Through the middle. No chance at second base. Altuve gets back. And the throw to first retires Brantley.
Well, that's heads-up base running by Altuve. It's almost like when you're on first or third and they tell you to freeze on a line drive. He would not have made it to third, but getting back to that point, he beat us in Game 7, and it was extremely frustrating. Pitched really well. It kind of reminds me of the ball that Bregman hit off him in August that he hit off his rear end. He almost got it in the rear end again.
Yeah, he had a little reverse spin coming out there. And typical today, I don't know if it's because of lack of practice, but very few pitchers, Greinke being an exception, are in position to field balls hit back at them.
Well, do you think that's because velocity has become so important and they really let it go? There's no like monitoring. You know, I'm going to throw this 91, 91, and I'll jump up to 95, which a lot of pitchers used to do. Every pitch is max effort.
Bregman walked his first time.
Well, I would, but the example I would use there is Bob Gibson was one of the great fielders, and Gibby fell off to first base, but he recoiled and he was always in position to field the ball.
Speaking of positioning, the Rays were positioned perfectly for the ball that Brantley hit up the middle. Adames fielded it behind second base and close to the bag, but Altuve got back. Adames looked to make a play on him, but Jose got back. And so then Adames threw Brantley out at first. The 0-1 to Bregman is in there 0-2.
Well, you see this by Adames, and it's really good base running because I think Adames could have went to third base had he tried to go to third base. Almost can tag him, but makes the play and holds the runner at second with less than 2 outs. Really important.
And Morton strikes Bregman out. Well, Bregman had a walk in the first, which is typical for him. High on base percentage. Strikeout here, somewhat atypical for him.
Yeah, I mean, that's just an outstanding breaking ball. And because he threw one for a strike to him, now he has to honor that one that's just going to be just off the plate. And think about how big replay was in that inning. You know, if Altuve gets the third and Brantley's still up, that's a run.
Yeah.
And now he's got a chance to get out of it.
Here's Alvarez, reached on an error his first time. Defected from Cuba in 2016, was the property of the Dodgers. The Astros got him in a deal, another far-sighted deal by Jeff Lunau and company. He becomes another, not just important piece, he's already a star. The Astros have a very good chance to sweep the major awards. Either Verlander or Cole wins the Cy Young. Bregman could be the MVP, and Alvarez almost certainly will be the Rookie of the Year.
just enjoying Joe, Darno, and Morton. I mean, there when Alvarez is probably saying, here comes Uncle Charlie, and he dots the outside corner with a fastball. Now he's got him set up for several options.
Well, that's the one place that they like to go on him with fastballs is up and away. Now I think you might see a breaking ball middle to middle in, down below the zone.
Yep.
And imagine that. He took that like he knew it was coming.
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't even offer. And you got Brantley swinging at that ball, and it's hitting him in the back leg.
That's Frank Thomas, like the Hall of Famer from the White Sox, who had some discipline.
It's scary how disciplined he is at such a young age and how much power he has. American League West, good luck.
Alvarez waits on it, bounces it foul.
Well, the one thing we haven't seen from Charlie Morton is he also has a slider that he'll try to backdoor left-handed hitters with sometimes, or he'll throw it up. Alvarez hit a double on it in Houston when they faced him in August, so I think he's going to stay probably with his two best pitches, his fastball and his curveball.
There's the hot and cold zone. You can see he has a lot more trouble with that pitch on the outside corner, probably the high riding fastball.
We're just in the third, and here comes Morton's 70th pitch of the afternoon. A called strike three. Altuve began the inning with a double. He's left at second base, and after 2.5. It's the Rays 3 and the Astros 1. If you watch a lot of baseball during the regular season, you watch a lot of MLB Network, see the highlights of all the games, perhaps you're saying to yourself, if you just tuned in, is that Tropicana Field? Right. With all those seats filled?
Yeah.
Yeah, it sure is.
I tell you, I've been here several times. I've never seen this kind of enthusiasm, and that's great for the Rays.
They condensed the regular season capacity to 25,000, didn't need the extra seats. And they were second to last in attendance behind the Miami Marlins. However, as Austin Meadows squibs one foul, they opened up some 10,000 additional seats for this one. And I don't know if every one of them is filled, but most appear to be.
They're making a lot of noise.
And I think if they win today, you might see a few more opened up tomorrow.
Peel the tarp back a little?
Yeah.
Meadows struck out against Greinke in the first. He'll be followed by Pham and Ji-Man Choi in the bottom of the third.
And here's what I love about it is, I mean, this isn't an organization that struggled mightily in the beginning. But since 2008, they went to the World Series. 7 times in 11 years they've won over 90 games.
Yep.
I mean, this has been a winning franchise.
Yeah.
In fact, in the first 10 years of their existence, 98 through 07, they averaged 97 losses, finished last 9 out of 10 seasons. As Meadows tips it back into Chirinos' glove and becomes a strikeout victim for the second time this afternoon. But since Joe Madden took them to the World Series, where they lost to the Phillies, but they got there in 08, only the Yankees and the Red Sox have more wins in the American League than the perpetually under-resourced Tampa Bay Rays.
And you don't hear about expectations for them every year. And they keep doing this, there's going to be, no matter what their payroll is.
Well, it's a credit to, as Kevin Cash would say, the front office and the ability to recognize players that fit in with their system. There's the wins that Bob was talking about and the payroll.
That's not this year. That's overall since 2008, the average.
A lot of bang for your buck.
Meanwhile, the Astros this year became only the 4th team in the last 75 years to have 3 consecutive 100-win seasons. First since the Yankees between 02 and 04. Braves did it between 97 and 99, and Earl Weaver's Orioles between 69 and 71. The Astros have matched that. In on his fists, and a foul ball at the plate.
And you know what? Here's the interesting thing about that. You talk about the Yankees 2002 to 2000. They didn't win a World Series. And it doesn't guarantee a World Series. And I'll tell you what, the Rays have a lot of front legs that are beat up, and here's another one.
Yeah.
Neither did the Braves win the World Series, 97, 98, 99. And Earl Weaver's Orioles, one of the great teams of all time, late 60s, early 70s, won only one of the three. So you have 9 trips to the World Series by those 3 great teams, 8 losses in the World Series. Only the Orioles in 70 won it. Pham strikes out, second of the inning, and the 4th of the game for Greinke. And as you look around baseball, there are so many teams that are trying, apparently, to follow the blueprint of Theo Epstein with the Cubs and Jeff Lunau with the Astros, where you don't care if you're lousy for a while and you build it up. The Astros lost 100 or more 3 straight years just before they began this string of excellence, in which they've won 100 or more 3 straight times.
See, and that was the changeup right there that he was trying to throw to Kiermaier. And he left it up. And you hear the grunt, you kind of think, was that a fastball? No, that's his changeup. But his fastball will get up to probably 92, 93 today. But there's not a big discrepancy. So when you make a mistake up in the zone, it becomes very hittable.
Yeah, Let me correct myself here before the historians of the audience get on me. Not all of those 100-win teams went to the World Series every year.
But
the
they
Braves
didn't win it.
Yeah, they only won 1 World Series. The Orioles in 1970. They did go to the World Series 3 straight times. The Yankees got their 1 of the 3, and the Braves got their 1 of the 3 in their successive 100-win seasons. And now that that bit of confusion has been cleared up, we move on.
So that pitch there, Joe, you're the catcher. They're shifting weight on the right. Yet the catcher sets up in the outside corner.
Yeah.
You're just assuming that the guy's going to try to pull the ball no matter where you throw it.
Well, usually on the ground, it's when they're out in front of it and their bat rolls over it. So if he hits it in the air, he's going to hit it probably to the left side. And that's why you see the center fielder on the left side of second base.
Yeah, see, I'm thinking if I'm the hitter right now and I see the catcher out there in those pitches, why wouldn't I just talk one to left field?
It takes a really disciplined hitter to try to shoot it that way, but most guys, they're trying to drive the ball, they're trying to hit the ball in the air, and when they get fooled, they get way out front. You know, they're geared up to hit the fastball, they get out front, and that's when they roll over it. So that's why they're played the way they are.
The 2-2 pitch. He jolts one to right. It sends Reddick back and turns him into a spectator. Ji-Man Choi makes it 4-1 Tampa Bay.
You know, this is the difference to me between Cole and Greinke. When Cole makes a mistake, he might get away with it because of the power.
Sure.
When Greinke makes a mistake, a lot of times he doesn't get away because his stuff has been good today, and we've seen that in the strikeouts, but he's made some mistakes that have led to home runs, and the Rays getting 4 runs.
Garcia singled his first time. He rolls it down to third. Bregman fields and throws him out. But on the solo homer by Ji-Man Choi, the Rays take a 4-1 lead as we move to the 4th. Yuli Gurriel will start it, followed by Carlos Correa and Robinson Chirinos in the Astro 4th. fouled at the plate.
You have an explanation, Joe, why so many hitters now, I know they're out off their front foot. I don't remember in past years so many hitters hitting balls, foul balls off their front foot.
I think players think pull more now. I think players think pull, get the ball in the air more, and sometimes they get too far out front. And if you're facing Charlie Morton, that little bit of sink, you swing just over the top of it enough to hit off your foot.
Makes sense.
Time.
Yeah, hitters of yesteryears were more back leg hitters.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of back leg hitters today, but I think they just get over the top of it just a little bit.
0-2 to Gurriel, who popped out in the first.
Tell you what, Charlie Morton could use a quick inning. I mean, he has not had one yet. He's had to work pretty hard. He's already in the 70-plus pitches, because it's looking like a 5-inning start for him again. But they have plenty of great bullpen pieces to go and mix and match.
Hit toward the hole and through for a leadoff single. And this is the Tucson ALDS telecast on MLB Network, presented by Geico. Full house here in the booth. Jim Cott, Joe Girardi, Bob Costas, Tom Verducci downstairs. Game 3 between the Astros and the Rays. Houston up 2-0 in the series, but Tampa Bay ahead in this one 4-1.
Joe, that was going to say before the pitch, if you're a catcher and a hitter fouls the ball off late like that, then you throw him a breaking ball, it is right into his bat speed.
Well, the other thing, he's such a great breaking ball, strike breaking ball hitter, and he was able to get to it. It was not the one that he wanted to throw to him.
Yeah.
He wanted to get it off the plate, but he was not able to do it. And again, he's had to work really hard these first 3 innings.
A strike to Correa. Morton is working on 4 days rest. He won the wild card game on Wednesday in Oakland. Pitched 5 innings, gave up only a single unearned run, but was gone by the 6th. And as you were saying, Joe, that might be the case here. Might be.
And this is the most innings he's ever thrown in a season. So, you know, the fatigue question starts to come apart. And Kevin Cash talked about how they gave him extra days off, and they thought it was really important as they had days off in the month of September and kept him, you know, on his normal turn in a sense. But it's the most innings he's ever thrown.
Yep. Hit the 200 mark with the first hitter he retired today.
Mr. Springer. He got.
Yes.
Pulled down the left field line, but it's foul.
I say speaking like a pitcher, because I knew that hanging curve just hit there and hit me.
So did you start to lean, Kitty, when you were on the mound?
As soon as I let it go, I would holler, "Oh no," because you knew when it came out of your hand this was not going to be good.
And the hitter's reaction will usually tell you whether it's going to be fair or foul. He didn't move from the box.
And he strikes him out. That's 6 for Morton.
So, and I love that he came back to it, because a lot of times when you hit a ball like that, someone might say he's looking for it, so let me throw him something else. But what it was is he didn't execute it. Right. And then he executed the next one the way around. Yeah. No chance.
Execution will trump selection all day long.
All day.
Robinson Chirinos walked in the 2nd.
It's another thing that Charlie Morton does really well. 3 stolen bases in 6 attempts, so they don't even run on him a lot. And I know he doesn't give up a ton of base runners, but you throw 200 innings, there's traffic. He's quick to home.
Boy, and he's got quick feet to first.
Yeah. Much like Justin Verlander. Yeah. They don't run on, people don't run on Greinke. He gets it there quickly.
Outwardly, Charlie Morton is about as placid as a pitcher in a big game can be. You cannot tell by his expression whether he just gave up a homer or just struck out the side.
Well, when he pitched in Houston in August, the man was holding the sign. right? And it had 9 faces on it. They were all the same, but it had 9 different types
of moods.
Yes, and it never changed.
The many moods of Charlie Morton.
Yeah.
Here's anger. Here's delight. They're identical.
But that has really helped that clubhouse. I think, you know, and he's helped the pitching staff learn to control their emotions, to be prepared, to work hard, but control your emotions.
I got to go to Clearwater with the Phillies with my friend Bob McClure, who's had a great influence on both Charlie Morton and Zach Greinke, and had a chance to meet Charlie. And man, do I wish I had that kind of demeanor on the mound every 4 days. Nothing bothers him.
See, right there, there's a difference. You pitched every 4 days.
Yeah.
These guys pitch every 5 at most, except maybe in the postseason when they could be called upon more frequently. That's a fair. No, it's not. Foul at the plate.
Tell you what, there's going to be a lot of ice bags on feet today.
Boy, I'll say.
And I think part of it too is you have to respect his velocity, and then he throws you that curveball and you go around and hook it. And this is just a sinker in too.
Yeah.
I think you're going to get yourself on breaking balls, but that little bit of sink, you don't quite get inside it enough, and that's what happens. Catchers don't need any extra bumps and bruises.
No, just need more equipment.
Gurriel with a modest lead at first. And strikeout number 7 for the afternoon for Charlie Morton, his second in this inning.
Well, after watching this game and how effective Charlie Morton's been, you see this fastball that's up in the zone above his belt and gets him to swing under it. You might be better off bullpenning against this team, because think about, like, mentally how much it must wear you out from inning to inning and how hard the innings are. If you only got 1 inning, you got to worry about 1 inning.
You mean as a pitcher for?
Yeah, because think about the mental stress that this team puts you in because of how hard they are to get through the at-bats and how they walk and they don't strike out. From a mental standpoint, it might be better to just pitch 1 inning against them and let the next guy go.
Josh Reddick lofts one to center field. Kevin Kiermaier is under it. Gurriel opened with a single. He never advanced past first. To the bottom of the 4th. 4-1 Rays. Flashbacks presented by NTT. Well, back in 2008, and now we've gotten behind it. A little bit of flashback activity. Second part of it was the Astros clinching the World Series. Altuve with the assist on the last out in Game 7 at Dodger Stadium. The first was 2008, the LCS against the Red Sox. And more importantly, Lau sends one deep to left center field, and yet again, it's a Rays home run. Forget about what happened in the past. Right here and now, it's their 3rd home run of the game, and they're up 5-1. Who was having a big rookie year till he fouled the ball off his shin in July, didn't make it back until late September. Still wound up hitting .270 with 17 home runs. Takes one out to the opposite field. It brings the pitching coach Brent Strom out of the Astro dugout to talk with Greinke.
Well, this is a curveball away, and if you watch the first 2 games, Verlander and Cole wore him out with breaking balls, and there were times they would throw him 3 in a row and he would continue to swing and miss. Well, you know what, Kitty, this one didn't do much.
Boy, has he got some surprising power or what?
Yeah, he has a ton of power.
Yeah.
I mean,
I say surprising because he doesn't look like that big physically.
No, he does not, and he really is good at getting the ball in the air. And he had 16 homers and 49 ribbies at the break, and went down about July 5th. So he has power.
Yeah, we're seeing that.
Here's Travis d'Arnaud hit by a pitch back in the second.
Kitty's trying to catch this fly ball. Come on, Kitty, reach.
I need arms like Shaquille O'Neal to get that.
So you know when you have a Gold Glover with you, that's what they do.
Yeah.
They try to catch everything. They're ball hogs.
By instinct, you go for it.
That was not a comebacker.
No.
In fact, it was nowhere near us, but we appreciate the feigned effort. The 0-1 pitch to d'Arnaud is inside. 3-run home run by Kevin Kiermaier in the second. Then solos by Ji-Man Choi in the third, and Brandon Lau here in the fourth. Have the Rays in front 5-1. Now, if there is a game 4, and right now it's shaping up this way, but still with plenty of time to go in this game. If there is a game 4, as Hector Rondon gets ready for the Astros, the Astros could go to Wade Miley. They could go to Jose Urquidy, who has been impressive in not that many outings, but nonetheless, he's caught people's attention. The Rays are likely to go with some kind of bullpen combination. This one's whacked to center field. Springer tracks it down for the first out as d'Arnaud is retired. So interesting possibilities, and neither manager will commit at this point to what they would do if there is a game 4.
Well, I understand why the Rays aren't committing, because they're probably going to use an opener, and it probably depends on who throws today and how much. As far as the Astros, I think they could possibly use one of those long guys like Urquidy or Miley, one of their starters, if they got into extra innings today and had to use them for a long period of time. So you don't want to commit to one guy because you may want him in this game.
That slow curve. I think the only thing Kevin Cash is looking at right now is 15 more outs.
Yes. And they haven't had a lot to smile about offensively in these first 2 games, but they do today. And I've always thought this is one of the great momentum teams, Tampa. It just seems like it builds and builds and builds, and they'll go through some losing streaks, and they'll run off a bunch in a row, and they get dangerous, especially in this building.
Greinke's 0-2 pitch to Kiermaier. And here's Tom.
Zach Greinke is clearly off his game. Go back to the at-bat by Kevin Kiermaier back in the second inning. Remember, he took advantage of a changeup that was up in the game. The key for Greinke, the warning sign, are secondary pitches up in the game, in the strike zone. This is what it's supposed to look at. 2-1 pitch, that's where he wants the pitch. That's not where he wants it. And then Choi comes up, same thing, changeup left up in the zone. He cannot use his secondary pitches up in the game. This year, he threw 682 changeups, gave up 3 home runs. Today, 13 changeups, 2 home runs. And don't forget the hit by pitch to d'Arnaud, pitch up in the zone. The curveball to Lau, secondary pitch up in the zone. And remember, guys, he almost threw a no-hitter his last time out. 11 days of rest. That's more problematic for a finesse guy than a power pitcher.
He comes back to fan Kiermaier. It's his 5th strikeout of the afternoon.
He's a flatliner. You see Zach Greinke. I mean, he is accountable. He will not say anything about the 11 days rest. And as you pointed out, Joe, Verlander and Cole can get by, just like Nolan Ryan could pitch 3-1, 2-0. I couldn't pitch that way. I had to pitch like Greinke. You have to throw strikes, get ahead of hitters, and continue to live on the edges of the strike zone, not in that middle hitter's lane.
Willy Adames had a double his first time up. So, Joe, would it be a concern for you if your number 3 pitcher, a guy who's won a Cy Young Award, won more than 200 big league games, would be the ace for many teams, if he had gone 11 days between starts, and now here we are in the postseason. Would that be a concern coming in?
Of course it would. And I probably would have relaxed after I saw the first inning, thinking that, you know, I would have worried more about the first inning. Whenever a pitcher has a long layoff, my concern is always the first inning. A lot of times it's after the break, the All-Star break. I'm like, oh, just get us through this one, and we'll get. Or in situations like this, and it could be a situation where you go through the playoffs quickly and you don't go to the Game 5s and the Game 7s, and your pitchers have a lot of rest. But I actually think that's important for the Astros because of how hard they're going to rely on Verlander and Cole. They need extra rest.
Foul to the seats, 2-2.
Yeah, Bob mentioned a while back the innings pitched that you did as well, and when today you hear 200 innings, you never thought that was that many, but pitchers today, other than Greinke, power pitchers, max effort, 200 innings for them is a lot tougher today than 200 innings was decades ago.
I agree, because of all the effort they're putting into every pitch.
Justin Verlander, of course, in the Astro dugout. Now, if you're the Twins and the Yankees, they have business of their own as priority number one. But you're obviously hoping that the Rays can extend this series, make the Astros pitching staff work, perhaps make Verlander pitch a Game 5. Best of all, with all due respect to the Rays, you're hoping that Tampa can come back and win the whole series. But at the very least, you want them to extend it.
And if you're going to pray, you might as well pray big that they use Verlander and Cole in the same Game 5.
Right. Well, if you're Joe as a manager, you hope in both those games go 16 innings.
Yeah. Keep playing, boys.
Two out, nobody on the 3-2 pitch. And a 2-out walk for Adames. And Hinch has seen enough. Hector Rondon should be ready by now. And here he comes. Back to Tropicana Field after this. To the plate to face Hector Rondon. Rondon is in the postseason for the 5th consecutive season. The last 2 with the Astros, 3 times before that with the Cubs. 31 years old, in his 7th season, a native of Venezuela. Duffy is 0 for 1 since replacing Yandy Diaz at third base.
You know, Kitty, he's got a really good fastball. I mean, he'll get up to, we saw that first one at 97. He'll get up to 99 miles an hour, and he's got some sliders that are unhittable.
He was closing games for the Cubs for a while, a few years ago.
And I mean, you think about it. He's like their 4th or 5th choice as they go to their bullpen.
Meanwhile, Wade Miley now gets up to throw in the Astro pen. For much of the year, he was a surprisingly effective number 3 behind Verlander and Cole before they acquired Greinke. Then also a solid number 4. This is the postseason. You mix and match. He's in the bullpen, at least for the time being.
Well, he really struggled in September, and there were a couple starts he didn't even get out of the first inning. So, you know, you wonder if he hit his wall. Some of these pitchers that don't necessarily log a lot of innings, the 3 previous years, you worry about them as they start to get up way up in innings and how their body's going to react.
Especially because they're not trained by pitching a lot of innings in the minor leagues.
He had some injuries.
The inning began with an opposite field home run from Brandon Lau that made it 5-1. After d'Arnaud lined out and Kiermaier struck out, Greinke walked Adames. He was pulled, and here's Rondon. The 0-2 to Duffy. Wasted one down and away.
That's one thing I always wanted to ask you, Joe. You see right there, the ball's in the dirt. They throw the ball out of play. I always thought as a catcher, as soon as you get that, you throw it back to your pitcher.
You know what, Kenny, they're not going to let you. You're going to have to throw it in anyway. So you
Really?
must just, oh, yeah. I mean, I used to even watch when catchers would throw in between innings if they would bounce. I would tell them, give them a new ball.
Oh, man.
Give them a new ball. Now, I wouldn't do it for my pitcher, but
No.
the opposing pitcher, I'd be yelling at the umpire.
A little bloop into center field that drops for a hit. 2 on with 2 out. It brings up Austin Meadows, who struck out twice against Greinke.
And with his 33 home runs this year and the outstanding September he had, he's not going to get a chance to face Rondon. He's going to have to face a lefty here.
Rondon faces one hitter. Duffy delivers a single. Rondon takes his leave, and here comes Miley. Back right after this. But as Joe said, stretch. Lefty-lefty matchup as he faces Meadows. The Astros are deep into the analytics, but they're not going to be swayed by a very small sample size. Meadows is 2 for 3 against Miley in his career, and one of the 2 was a home run. But Hinch goes to the lefty-lefty matchup because in a much larger sample, Miley is just tough on left-handed hitters.
Whatever happens is going to happen pretty quick because Wade Miley does not mess around on the mound.
Right.
He pitches really quickly. And for the right-handed hitters, you're going to see a lot of cutters in and changeup. I think sometimes he gets to be where he throws. He doesn't use all his stuff. You know, he's not one of these guys that can pitch up with your fastball and down with your changeup. He needs to throw his slider. He needs to throw his curveball and mix all his pitches in.
He was a surprising part of Milwaukee's deep postseason run that got them to within a game of the World Series a year ago.
It's a game we did in Colorado. He started that game.
He did. Pitched
can
very
pitch.
effectively in the postseason for them. Two on, 2 out on the 2-1 pitch. In the air to center field. Back goes Springer. Way back to the track. It's over his head and against the wall as the Rays pour it on. 2 runs are going to score. And they're up 7-1. Some 400 feet away, when it left the bat, Springer appeared to think he had a chance to run it down, but it was over his head.
Well, Springer turned a couple different ways on this ball, and he was not able to run down. I don't think he runs it down anyway.
No.
Not as shallow as he was playing. Kiermaier probably gets this ball because he plays deeper. But you're going to see it's a ball that's up in the zone. Turns one way, turns the other way, and by that time it's too late.
And now it's Pham who goes the other way, possibly producing another run. The play at the plate, safe. Meadows slid around the tag from Chirinos. The Astros may want to check. Pham poked it through the hole on the right side. Meadows with 2 outs running hard scores from second base. And unless they reverse this upon appeal, it's 8-1. It looks to us as if there might have been contact with the shoulder, but not with the glove. He was trying to swing the glove around for the tag. But Meadows looks like he gets past him here. You can't tell for sure there because you don't see the depth. But you can tell on the other one that he was safe. And it will not be reviewed. There you go. There's the separation. Ji-Man Choi is grounded out and homered. Now, at what point if you're A.J. Hinch, do you kind of wave the white flag and say, look, I'm going to save my pitching staff here. I'm going to concede that there's going to be a game 4, and I'm not going to empty my bullpen.
Well, I think he's doing it right now.
Yeah.
I do too. I think he's going to wait. You know, if they get back in it, you might see some changes. But had he been out, Meadows, I would have reviewed it because I think Chirinos was blocking the plate before he had the ball.
Isn't that a weak rule?
Right.
You as a catcher, you know that.
I know, but he did not give him really an area to slide because he had stepped in to block the plate before he had the ball. And it was a good slide by Meadows. I don't think they would have overturned it.
No.
But I don't think the ball took him there. I just think that that's old school catching. You step in late. And as we watch this, he's blocking the ball. He doesn't have the ball. He doesn't. The ball didn't take him anyway. He was blocking the plate to me. And a lot of times the rule of thumb is your foot has to be on the corner of the base pointing towards third, but he's way up the line.
Such a ticky-tack rule, because if you're Chirinos and you're looking at the ball, how can you look to see where your foot is?
Well, the first thing you're taught is to get your foot set before you look to where the throw's coming from.
Yeah, I think this might be a take one for the team by Wade Miley, and he's not going to be unhappy with that. He knows what his role is.
You know, I think guys just want to be a part of the playoff run. I mean, I think it's really important. Chaz Rowe getting up too.
Yeah, I think what Kevin Cash might be concerned about is the long rest that Charlie's had. I would assume you paid attention to that.
Yeah, of course you did. And he's thrown over 80 pitches. I mean, I think they'll let him start the inning, but they'll start to have Chaz Rowe, if he looks like he's out of sync, he's lost his command, ready to go.
The Rays with 3 in the second, 1 in the third, 4 here in the fourth.
Yeah, 23 minutes Charlie Morton's had to sit in that dugout. Doesn't mean he can have good stuff, but sometimes you'll stiffen up, and Kyle Snyder and Kevin Cash will be able to tell that his first couple pitches, if in fact he does go out there.
And he, you know, maybe he went down below and threw in the cage a little bit.
That's right. You can do that now, can't you?
Yeah, I'll trade 4 runs for 23 minutes.
Yeah.
And maybe a chance to get a little more.
My goal before the DH was I always wanted to make the first 2 outs in the first inning as a hitter. So we done about 12 runs.
Yeah.
Choi walks on the 3-2 pitch. The Rays have batted around, and here's Tom.
I'm watching Chaz Rowe warm up. He's certainly warming up as if he's coming in. I think the option here, guys, is to see Charlie Morton. I think he may be done. Do you want him throwing pitches here in an 8-1 game, or do you want to save some bullets for a possible appearance in a game 5?
That is the question. The answer is forthcoming. Garcia actually the 9th man to bat in the inning. Should he reach, they'd get to Lau, who led off with a homer, and then they would have batted around.
Yeah, I would think now Tom's right with all the long time he's had to sit. Got a comfortable lead.
That was a little low.
Yeah,
we talked about him being a low ball umpire. That was a little low.
So if Morton is done, he will have thrown 4 innings, given up 3 hits, 1 run, walked 2, struck out 7, thrown 82 pitches, won't qualify for the win, which is not Kevin Cash's primary concern, if it's any concern at all. Garcia hits one to short. Fielded there by Correa. The flip to Altuve for the force. But the Rays send 9 men to the plate, and 4 of them score. And after 4, it's 8-1 Tampa Bay. Charlie Morton comes out for the 5th inning.
Now, I was told that was a Minnesota rule of thumb when Tom Kelly was there. That if you scored runs, the first pitch to the first hitter of the next inning was a breaking ball.
Really?
Yes, that you didn't want him to jump on a fastball and hit one out of the ballpark and give him some momentum.
Interesting. I never knew that. I knew Eddie Stanky with the White Sox, the first pitch of the game from his pitchers was always a curveball.
Doug Drabeck did that.
Yeah.
Springer, Altuve, and Brantley for the Astros in the 5th. Here's a chance for Adames at short. And Springer's retired.
Well, Charlie's got 7 strikeouts today, Charlie Morton. Let's look at a number of them. Uncle Charlie, really we call that curveball Lord Charles. 3 of them. High, tight fastball, another curve, looks like a strike, another high fastball. Done a great job in and out. And, Joe, I'm interested in your opinion as a manager. Charlie going back out there.
Yeah, because you have to win today.
So you like it.
Yeah, and he's still going to be able to throw if they get to game 5 out of the bullpen.
Yeah.
I don't imagine he would go much over 100. But, I mean, this is all about today. You can't worry, well, we're going to save him for – he's not pitching tomorrow. So you wouldn't bring him in relief. So you can't worry about game 5 until you get through game 3. And they're talking about bullpenning tomorrow. So, you know, why – you're going to need a lot of those guys to maybe get up and throw again tomorrow. So the less you use today, the better off you are.
Altuve has homered and doubled. Putting together a Hall of Fame resume. .315 career batting average. 3 batting titles already. Led the league in hits 4 times.
Here's the other thing, Kitty. You know, you look at the numbers that Altuve. I mean, it's truly amazing what this young man has done and how he's got to this point. But, you know, I would think about using Glass now tomorrow.
Strikeout number 8 as he freezes Altuve.
Well, there's your Uncle Charlie. What'd you call it? Lord Charlie?
Lord Charles, yeah.
I like that.
Well, and see, there's only the pitcher can tell you when you go back out there. John Stupert pitched one of the great games, Game 6 of the '82 World Series. Went through about 4 rain delays. But when Charlie gets out there, both Kyle Snyder and Charlie can say, I don't just feel right. But he looks sharper now than he did 23 minutes ago.
And think about what he does, Kitty. He's thrown a lot of these right-handers in. And he started the breaking ball in. Same tunnel, right? Same tunnel the ball's coming up. A lot of times you'll see guys throw high breaking balls and the curve balls that don't have sweep, that just have the depth. It's the same tunnel. So what he's trying to do is make 2 pitches look the same, but they go opposite directions and they're different speeds.
Oh, 2 to Brantley. So, if this is Morton's last inning, he's on the verge of finishing it with a flourish.
Wind him up. Let him go.
If he gets this guy out, I would think about letting him come back. I would.
We'll see. 1-2.
And I know he worked really hard the first 3 or 4 innings, and you take that into account and how a guy feels, and you go talk to your pitcher. Where are you? What do you got? And I think Charlie Morton, because he's not emotional, will give Kevin Cash an honest answer.
The Astros jumped in front when Altuve, the second hitter of the game, walloped a long home run to almost straightaway center. The 1-0 lead didn't last long. It's 8-1 Rays, top of the 5th.
That's a thinking manager right there, right?
Yeah.
He's thinking about, okay, if he gets this guy out, what am I doing next inning? Am I automatically going to the bullpen?
Brantley asked for time. He strikes Brantley out. The 9th K he's put in the book. Strides off after the top of the 5th, leading 8-1, and he's qualified for the victory. today and tonight. Braves and Cardinals, they're actually just about set to get underway. 2-1 Atlanta after they came back in the 9th to beat the Cardinals yesterday. Dodgers Nats with the Dodgers up 2-1 in that one at 6:30 Eastern. Both those games on TBS. Then at 8:30 Eastern time, it's the Yankees and Twins from Target Field on FS1. The Yankees up 2-0 in that best of 5.
Well, the interesting thing about the playoffs this year, and we're so used to seeing dominant bullpens, it's been the year of the starter in the playoffs.
It has.
Bullpens have struggled. Looks like Charlie Morton's day is done as he's given hugs.
Tampa's bullpen might be the exception. They haven't been roughed up too much, have
No, they have not. And the Yankees bullpen has been good.
What's new?
Yeah.
There's the hugs. That's the clear indication.
Wade Miley has seldom pitched in relief. 245 of his 249 regular season appearances have been starts. Prior to today, all 4 of his postseason appearances had been starts. Working out of the bullpen in this one.
He had the one start against LA where he went one hitter.
That's right, one hitter. He walked the first guy. That was for Craig Counsell on the Brewers.
Can you give that really credit for a start?
Why did he do that?
I don't even think that was a case of using an opener. I think it was a case of Craig Counsell trying to get them to set their lineup. He sends the lefty out there. He pitches to one guy and he pulls him.
Wow.
Right?
I agree. And you know what? You learn is it's really hard to keep secrets anymore in the game of baseball because players are aware of what's going to happen, and it's really hard to keep secrets.
Well, what if a guy's sitting in his locker? He texts his buddy.
Yeah.
The next thing you know, it spreads like wildfire. The shift is on. What a great play by Correa. He bounces it over there, and he's out.
Wow.
Oh, my gosh. It got over there on several bounces, but Lau is retired. Tough to find a space with the shift on. Lau almost did, but Correa denies him.
And for a player that's had back problems, you worry about him diving on this turf, but you see the extension. Hey, and just roll it in the direction. Yuli Gurriel is a much better first baseman than he gets credit for. Hits off the tip of his glove. I mean, we've seen him make 2 spectacular plays. One in game 2, the first play of the game on Diaz, and then that one.
Miley to d'Arnaud.
Those are so much fun to watch because there's no fundamentals involved. It's your imagination, your intuitive skills, and your reaction. You don't go over those plays in spring training.
No, you don't. You don't have players diving because you're afraid they'll get hurt. And you'd be surprised. Some players don't really dive well as infielders, right? So, you talk about ways to practice it. I used to tell Didi I didn't think he was great at diving after balls. Jump in a pool. Dive into a pool like you would and extend your arm. Because you worry about players getting hurt.
Sure.
It's an interesting approach.
Right?
Should dive in with a glove on?
Not with your glove.
Ruin the leather?
Just extend your hand. Well, all these guys got 25 gloves. They get his. Just learn how to do it.
Wasn't that the worst thing when you were a kid? Somebody throws your glove into the pool or into the lake.
Yeah, but how many times did we leave it out in the rain, our own stuff?
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't people throwing it in the.
Well, yeah.
Actually,
that was what you told your mother, so you didn't get in trouble.
How would you break it in, right?
Yeah.
Put a little oil on it.
Yeah.
Put a baseball in the pocket. Wrap rubber bands around it.
Put it
sleep
underneath
on
your
it.
mattress.
Right.
Yeah.
I'd put 2 baseballs on it, wrap it with string, dunk it in the whirlpool, and then take it out and rub it with neat's foot oil, then put it on my hand and keep doing that till it fit just like part of your hand.
And then pine tar and rosin.
This was when you were in the big leagues, not when you were a kid.
Right.
Here's a play from game 2, Joe.
Yeah, I mean, this is to start the game against Garrett Cole, and it went nothing but downhill for the Rays after that. But look at this play. I mean, this is a man that hasn't played much in the month of September, and then he makes that spectacular play. Now, it may not be as meaningful today as it was in game 2, but it just shows you the quality of defense that Correa is able to play. And I know he only played in 75 games this year, but he only had 2 errors
at shortstop.
And Bregman, as we mentioned, filled in very capably while he was out, shifting over from third base. Speaking of Bregman, here he is on a much more routine play, and that's the second out in the bottom of the fifth. Today's score notwithstanding, these Astros, who won 107 games, topping 100, as we said, for the third consecutive season. It's hard to find a weakness when you talk about this team, and you consider the fact that Springer, Correa, and Altuve all missed significant chunks of the season, and they still won 107, and they didn't add Greinke until midseason.
Well, it just shows you how deep they are and how good their pitching was. I mean, pitching will carry you.
They'll outpitch you. They'll overpower you.
And you know what? They don't beat themselves. You know, from a defensive standpoint, they're #1 in baseball. They pitch well. They don't walk people. They don't make errors. They're positioned correctly. You have to beat them by putting hits together against one Hall of Famer for sure, maybe two. And if Garrett Cole goes on this run for 4 or 5 years, probably 3.
A little topper by Kiermaier, fielded by Miley, who shovels it over to Gurriel, and it's a 1-2-3 fifth. But after extolling all the virtues of the Astros, nobody's unbeatable. Rays lead it 8-1. Game 3, then there will be another one following from Target Field. Both those games would be on FS1. Could have 1, could have 2. If the Astros rally and the Yankees win, we'll have none. Here's Bregman against Chaz Rowe.
Slider Chaz Rowe, I think I would call it. 70% of the pitches to right-handers from the sliders. And there's number 1, and he's got more break on it than any right-handed pitcher in baseball.
More than Ottavino?
Yes, he does.
Wow.
According to the numbers.
Because Ottavino's like a slider throwing machine, also the fine right-hander in the Yankee bullpen.
Actually had him with the Yankees for a short period of time. He's been good for them. He pitched in game 1. He went 1 1/3 innings, didn't give up a hit. Came in to face Correa and struck him out. A couple guys on.
Sabotaged a bit when Gurriel hit a ball at a shallow right and Brandon Lowe dropped it for an error in that game 1 appearance.
You're not going to see him face a lot of left-handers, you know, with the way this bullpen is made up. But in this game, they will let him face Alvarez.
Bregman with a base hit. He's now 1 for 2 with a walk. So in theory, all 4 division series could end today and tonight. All 4 could be extended, or it could be some sort of combination. The Rays are certainly on their way to extending this one, but the Astros still have 4 turns at bat left, and Bregman starts the 6th with a single.
And I would think this would be a really tough matchup for Chaz Rowe.
If he's going to keep throwing sliders, it will be.
He's got to throw him fastballs up in the zone.
Ball.
And interesting, you know, that first fastball was 94. You go back 15, 20 years ago, that was considered a good fastball.
Better than good.
That's average.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bigger, stronger, more powerful, better technique pitchers today.
Rose 1-0 to Alvarez is down and in.
And Alvarez just doesn't chase sliders like he chases curveball. It seems like the flat breaking ball is the one he has the ability to crush. And when I mean crush it, he's got a seat in Minute Maid Park where he hit a ball in the upper deck. So that back wall is not safe if he gets into one in right field.
All the talk about launch angle, he has a natural launch angle swing.
Most left-hand hitters do.
Let's bring in Tom.
Well, he certainly has a knack for driving in runs, Bob. You talk about 78 RBIs in his first 87 games. Check out other hitters who have started their career with that kind of rate of RBIs. You got to go way back, gentlemen. It's the most in the last 69 years. For a guy they picked up in a trade with the Dodgers a couple years ago at the deadline for a middle relief pitcher, Josh Fields.
Not a bad move, huh?
Well, actually, I was talking to Jeff Luno, the GM of the Astros today, and he said when they called the Dodgers, he asked them for Alvarez, and they thought they meant a pitcher they had signed, Dariel Alvarez, who cost them about $16 million, and they said, no, that's too expensive. And Jeff said, no, it's your Don, who signed for only $2 million. So the sticker price seemed a lot lower to the Dodgers.
Well, the Astros have made the big splash with some of their trades and free agent acquisitions. Line drive, base hit. Bregman around second. He'll make it to third. Alvarez stumbles a little bit as he heads for second base himself, but he's in with a double. Started to say that these Astros have made the big bold-faced moves. They've also made some kind of under-the-radar moves, and almost all of them have paid off.
Well, that's the evaluation of players that the Astros are so good at, evaluating young players, and this is that flat slider that he gets to. And I would think already that phone is ringing in that bullpen, and somebody's going to get up pretty soon for the Rays.
Yeah, it's probably too early to go to a lefty-lefty matchup here in the sixth, but if this were the eighth, you'd probably see a lefty coming in to face him.
And this is his specialty, getting right-handers out. So if you're Chesro, you're thinking, give him one. Don't get to where you get so careful you walk hitters. Give him one, don't give him two here.
A strike to Gurriel, who's 1 for 2. Both bullpens are quiet for the moment. This is one of the few remaining ballparks in the major leagues where the bullpens are on the field.
I see catchers getting dressed down there, though, Bob. Here we go.
Yeah. Oh.
Ooh. Crowd doesn't like it. James Hoy said he didn't go. Meanwhile, Brendan McKay is getting ready. Just began tossing down the right field line.
Kitty and I are shaking our heads, yes.
Yeah. Well, that's a tough call.
Gurriel squibs one foul.
You mentioned a while ago, Joe, and that's mentally, I'm sure Chaz Rowe will think that way. You give up a couple hits, but now your goal is, hey, I'm not going to try to strike everybody out and keep them from scoring any runs. You're just comfortable not walking anybody, and if you get out of here giving up one run, you're fine.
You're fine. You're 8-2. You might even go back out.
Tag.
Bregman at third. He singled to open the inning. Alvarez at second. He followed with a double. And the 1-2 pitch to Gurriel. A chopper toward the middle, and it gets through. It'll score 2, and it's an 8-3 game. Single, double, single. 2 runs home, nobody out.
Well, you're never out of the woods when you face these Astro hitters because their lineup is so deep. And Gurriel, who's had he has been brilliant since Alvarez has got here. I mean, that's the one thing that he has done, and you wonder if there's a relationship there. They're both from Cuba, but I mean, his numbers took off after Alvarez got there. Alvarez has 78 RBIs. He has 76.
Like he went to the fastball, to the slider there and moved back.
Yeah. There's that hard infield you're talking about.
Yeah.
Got through it really quick, some big bounces. The Astros are one big swing from making this kind of interesting here.
A visit from Kyle Snyder, the pitching coach, and we'll take a quick break.
She wanted a roommate who could.
Snyder has had his say. Rowe stays in. He's allowed 3 straight hits. since starting this inning in relief of Charlie Morton. Correa struck out twice against Morton. In tight, ball one.
It's kind of been a theme. Fastballs into him and breaking balls away. He's had a pretty good series considering they didn't play at all in the month of September. Didn't play really in half of August. He's 3 for 10. He's made 2 spectacular plays. Bregman said that he's built for these moments. He's built for playoff baseball.
So is Bregman.
Yeah. I think he's built for any time. This is a good slider. I mean, again, it's starting inside and ended up on that outside corner.
One and 2 to Correa. The Astros trying to make a game of it as Bregman cheers Correa on. They've scored twice here in the top of the 6th. Gurriel's at first with nobody out. And the 1-2 from Rhoda Correa.
So to me, Kitty, that's far enough. You tried to get him to chase that one. Now you're going to throw him that one that's
this is the action pitch.
And take your chances here. And you want strikeout deluxe? How about Nick Anderson? What he's done with it. That's for Mr. Springer, I think.
Correa with a little bloop, and Lau clutches it as Gurriel dives back into first.
I guess he didn't dare try that. I was thinking as soft as it was, he would backpedal, field it on a hop, and they could have got 2.
Yeah, I think if it had a little bit more loop to it, he may have done that, but Correa wasn't really running.
No.
Right? You catch it, you throw to first.
You can't let it hit you and bounce off your body, right? You have to feel it on a hop.
You let it drop, you back up, and then you see Gurriel. I mean, Gurriel did a good job of getting it off as far as he could, but this is called the jam sandwich right here.
But Correa wasn't running hard out of the box carrying the bat, so he could have done it another way. Could have let it bounce, get the force at second, throw Correa out at first. You got your double play.
And I understand why he didn't do it, because I'm facing the Astros. I'm taking whatever outs I can get.
Yeah, I hear you.
I'm not taking a chance of trying to do something spectacular.
You don't want to get cute with a 5-run lead.
No. Outs.
Take the out.
You got a veteran, a seasoned veteran like Robbie Alomar.
Yeah,
he's got you.
He'd catch that behind his back.
A ball and a strike to Chirinos.
It's the other thing that pitchers face when you're looking at a team like the Astros, and a lot of teams these days, is years ago when you had a big lead, you got to the late innings, there was maybe 3 hitters in the lineup that you worried about, and down near the bottom you had some guys you were pretty comfortable getting out. Nowadays every guy's in scoring position when he steps in the batter's box.
It's got to be tough to pitch today because of that fact. Be interesting if they bring in McKay, if A.J. Hinch lets Reddick hit. I mean, he could go to Marisnik, who has the ability to hit the ball out of the ballpark. Put him in center and move Springer to right. You still would have Kyle Tucker if that spot came around again and you're facing a right-hander.
1 on, 1 out, 2 runs home, and the 1-2 pitch. Struck him out. Whole bunch of sliders, then a 93-mile-per-hour fastball up and in. And it's Cash to the mound, and soon it will be Brendan McKay to the mound. So Rowe was touched for a couple of runs. He leaves a runner on base. He retired the last two guys he faced, and now he'll give way to Brendan McKay. This is his University of Louisville, where he was a true two-way player. Terrific first baseman and pitcher. In fact, there's a collegiate award named after John Olerud, who had a fine big league career with the Blue Jays and the Mets. The John Olerud Award is the best two-way player in the country. McKay won it 3 times.
Wow.
Also won the Golden Spikes Award as the best overall player in the country before the Rays selected him 4th overall in the first round a couple of years ago.
If he had to face himself, which McKay would win?
I don't know. That's a lot of talent, though.
Probably says, I'm glad I don't have to face Verlander, Cole, and Glasnow, and Charlie Morton.
McKay comes in. Reddick is pulled. Aledmus Diaz hits for him and takes a strike.
And Joe played with a player that could have done that. In fact, there are several. Paul O'Neill was a great high school basketball player. I think Paulie could have pitched and played the outfield. Derek Lilliquist, going back to the Georgia Bulldogs, longtime pitching coach.
Oh, 0-2 to Diaz.
McKay made some starts for them during the course of the season. He's got a big fastball. He's got a good curveball. He'll use a changeup and a cutter, but those are his main 2 pitches.
For McKay, this is his second appearance in the series. He was charged with 2 runs in Game 1 as the first man out of the bullpen in relief of Tyler Glasnow. Trying to shut off an Astro rally here in the 6th. The 1-2 to Aledmus Diaz is skied into shallow right. In comes Garcia to call and make the catch. The Astros score 2. They leave 1. And after 5.5, it's 8-3 Rays. This best of are in front 8-3. Aledmus Diaz, who hit for Josh Reddick, stays in the game, plays left field, which he has seldom played in his career, and Michael Brantley moves from left to right. Meanwhile, Wade Miley is going to give A.J. Hinch some length here. He stays in the game, faces Willie Adames as the Rays come up in the bottom of the 6th. Adames has doubled and walked.
Ball.
That's Joe Smith. Hasn't begun to throw, but will shortly.
Well, you got to love catching Wade Miley, Joe.
Playing behind him.
Yeah. Put both. Yeah. Put the fingers down. Here it comes.
Here it comes. I mean, he can't wait to throw this next pitch.
Yeah. I used to have 2 words on my gloves. 2 phrases: study long, study wrong.
Yeah. And a lot of times, these guys are the guys that get all the runs, right?
Yeah.
You know, because
guys want to play the guy.
Yeah.
Here's a high drive to deep left field off the bat of Adames, and he goes yard. Well, earlier in the game, we made a point that is valid. The 2 guys at the bottom of the order, Kiermaier and Adames, are prized more for their defense than their offense. They have each homered in this game. Adames, in fact, has added a double. 4 home runs for the Rays. 3-run shot for Kiermaier. And solos from Ji-Man Choi, Brandon Lau, and now Willie Adames. 9-3 Tampa Bay.
When you talk about Willie Adames, Kevin Cash talked about, you see him, he's aggressive on this fastball up. It's not a pitch that Miley wants to throw. He doesn't have that top end velo and spin rate, but he hit 237 in the first half with 10 home runs, 278 in the second half. And they just felt like in the first half he was taking too many pitches and getting behind all the time. So be more aggressive. And you don't hear that very often, a manager telling a hitter to be more aggressive. But for him, he needed to be, and he had a good second half.
That's a good point. Most of the time they're telling young hitters be more patient.
Yes, because they're swinging at everything.
Miley's 2-1 to Matt Duffy is fouled off. Walking through the Rays clubhouse and talking with Kevin Cash before the game, down 0-2, but no frowns on the faces, no heads hung. There was some bounce in their steps, and this has only improved their mood.
Well, Charlie Morton, I saw Charlie at the press conference yesterday, and he was asked that question. And of course, Charlie in his cool demeanor, if we came in and started acting like we normally don't act, it would be like a sign of panic. And I was in the clubhouse for quite a while today.
In left field, a chance right away for Diaz. It was hit right at him, and he tucks it away.
And just talking with some of the guys, and incidentally, every Rays player had a T-shirt that said Charlie freaking Morton. And they revere him.
Yeah.
And you could not tell that this was any other game than today's game, and I think that's what you talked about with Kevin Cash.
Music was loud.
Yeah.
He didn't talk to the players because he didn't want to send a message of like panic through the clubhouse. They've lost 2 in a row before. Just go play today.
Yeah.
There it is. Charlie freaking Morton.
Yeah.
My guess is Charlie's never freaked out in his life.
No.
No. Adames puts his helmet on the head of his manager, Kevin Cash, who has kind of a one of the boys vibe to him, right?
Yeah. The only other coach I ever saw wear a helmet in the dugout was Don Zimmer.
Zim?
And well, you remember he got hit in the head by Chuck Knobloch.
Yeah.
And
sure.
I got a text from his wife, Soot, because Zim was a big part of this organization.
Oh, he was.
Meadows rolls one toward Altuve, who throws him out. That's the second out in the 6th.
And I asked her, I said, you coming to the game? And she goes, no, I'm going to watch it on TV. I'm 88 years old, and in 66 years of following Don around, I was in enough ballparks.
Well, they got married in a minor league ballpark way back in the day.
I have the picture. I have the picture on my desk.
A canopy of bats, right?
Yeah. Yes. I want to say, if Soot's listening, I want to say August 16, 1951 at Dunfield in Elmira, New York.
We'll check on that, but I have a feeling you're right. Tommy Pham is thrown out by Alex Bregman. So after the inning opening homer by Willie Adames, USB's revolutionary tracking technology at MLB.com/StatCast. On to the 7th, and Oliver Drake is on the mound for the Rays. G-Man Choi faces him, or does he? They go to the bench.
Springer.
Where am I? Oh, I traded G-Man Choi. You see, I get distracted talking
Fantasy
to you guys between innings. Don't turn over the scorecard. And I traded G-Man Choi from the Rays in the middle of the game to the Astros against his will. The trade has been voided by the commissioner's office, and here's George Springer.
Now, Joe, put your batting helmet on a minute instead of catching. Isn't this tough for hitters to face a different guy like this every at bat late in the game?
I believe it is, and a lot of times Drake is used against left-handed hitters because of all the splits that he throws. But it's another guy from the Rays that has been with a number of different clubs, came over here and has found success because they know how to use his stuff.
Makes very quick work of George Springer. Disposes of him on 3 pitches.
Just a great split here. You see the movement on it, and they have what you want to call runways or whatever you want to call it when they use certain pitchers. And look at that. Now, that finish is not going to win you a Gold Glove, Kitty, like you have.
But
because he's going to get hit with any ball hit up the middle.
Yeah, but it doesn't look like he's going to get hit very much with that splitter.
No.
Now Altuve, who's homered, doubled, and then struck out. A little flare that's caught. Adames makes the play for the second out. So Drake retires the first two he faces in the seventh. He appeared in the first game of this series and was touched for a couple of runs in the seventh inning of game one. Gave up back-to-back doubles to Alvarez and Gurriel. And now faces Brantley, who was 0 for 3 against Morton with a pair of strikeouts.
I'm sure he's happy to see Charlie out of this game.
Well,
and we talked, he doesn't strike out.
I was going to say that says it all about Charlie Morton and his devastating curveball. If you strike out Michael Brantley twice in one game, quite an achievement.
Tell you what, if you're scouting Brantley and how to get him out, that sweeping breaking ball knee high is something that he really struggles with when it's inside.
Meanwhile, did you know this? Oliver Drake on the mound is one of only 3 players in Major League history who graduated from the Naval Academy. We all remember the immortal Nemo Gantz, who pitched in 4 games for the Senators in 1921. More recently, Mitch Harris made 26 relief appearances for the Cardinals in 2015. And now here's Drake.
There you go.
Now, other sports, David Robinson, Hall of Famer in the NBA, Roger Staubach, Heisman Trophy winner and then Hall of Famer in the NFL. Not so much in baseball.
Nope.
Two out, nobody on. The 2-1 pitch is a strike at the letters.
Well, Kitty, I got a message from Soot. She said you got an incredible memory.
August 16, 1951.
She said you were right on.
Somebody sent me that picture years ago, and I went to their anniversary party in New York, and it's a cherished picture. Under cross bats.
A ground ball to the left side. It's Duffy who picks it up. The only infielder on the left side of the diamond. And he throws Brantley out. Brantley's 0 for 4. Drake works a 1-2-3-7. And the Rays maintain their 9-3 lead.
Sacrifice. Grit. We are baseball. And baseball is us.
Here's some of what's happened today at Tropicana Field. And what matters most is that the Rays lead by 6 as they come up in the bottom of the 7th. Ji-Man Choi, one of a handful of players from South Korea who's appeared in the major leagues this year. Hyun-Jin Ryu of the Dodgers, the most prominent, led all starters in ERA and might have had a shot at the Cy Young if he hadn't been derailed for a while by some nagging injuries. Still put together a terrific season. Ripped foul.
I think he was looking fastball.
I think he got it too.
He's grounded out, homered, and walked. For the year, he hit .261 with 19 bombs.
I tell you what, this crowd has really changed from the beginning. And now they have been loud every inning. And it's almost like they feel the momentum. Probably can't wait for tomorrow.
They love Ji-Man Choi.
Yeah, they were chanting Ji-Man Choi, Ji-Man Choi, but he didn't come through for them that time.
Well, let's take a look at the long balls by the Rays. StatCast AI powered by AWS. That's Kiermaier's 104 miles an hour launch angle. Good enough. That got him 3 runs. And then Choi over 100. Most of the time when you see a home run, it's going to be barreled up over 100. That was 106 by Adames.
We're talking about launch angle and velocity off the bat. The home run that he hit in the wild card game, Garcia in Oakland, halfway up that big facade, you know, where they're right below the boxes for the football game.
Well, what's interesting, I kind of like it because what's interesting about postseason baseball, you can throw the season stats out the window. They beat Oakland. They hit 4 home runs.
Yes. And Oakland was the home run hitting club.
Right. And then here, Altuve has one, but the Rays about homered them.
Garcia had one. Diaz. He hit a high fastball, and man, did he smoke it.
So meanwhile, Miley, perhaps not brilliant, but serving a purpose for A.J. Hinch.
A big purpose, you know, because they're not having to go to their bullpen a lot. You know, you think about the big 3 that they have down there. Presley and Harris. Closer, Osuna.
To this point, Miley has gone 2 2/3, yielded 3 hits, 2 runs. One of the hits was a homer. Adames hit it in the 6th. 1 out here in the 7th as he faces Garcia.
Well, here's the home run that Garcia had, and I would suggest you don't go up and away to him because this is off of Anaya. In this ball, I mean, center fielder hardly even moves. I mean, it's above the green wall. It was loud. I think it made it 3-0 at that point early in that game, and they never looked back because they turned it over to that bullpen after Charlie Morton.
Full count now to Garcia.
I like what Garcia's doing here too. He's slowing down. He's slowing down Wade Miley. You know, a lot of times when you get those guys that work really quick, you got to step out. You know, get them out of their rhythm.
I hated that.
That's a fair ball. Long throw for Bregman, and it pulls Gurriel off the bag. So Garcia reaches. Gurriel had to go up the ladder, and the ruling is E5.
And that's the one thing a lot of times when you take a look at Garcia, you don't realize. I mean, Bregman makes a nice stop here. He just throws it too high, and Gurriel has to jump up. How quickly Garcia gets down the line. I mean, when you look at him, he is a big, big right fielder. He's not even running in a straight line, and he's still beat.
Right.
E5, and up comes Brandon Lau, has a homer in 3 at-bats.
Well, Garcia, Joe, when you look at the number 24, his idol, and he kind of mimics Miguel Cabrera. Miggy can't run like that anymore.
No, he cannot. Mickey first came up, though, he could run a little bit.
He was slender.
Kitty, you see hands hanging out over the plate like that as a left-hander. What are you doing?
I'm going to throw him underneath him.
Yeah.
Or try.
Lau ropes one into right for a base hit. Garcia wheels around second, makes it to third without a play. Runners at the corners with 1 out. And Hinch will go to his bullpen. Joe Smith is coming in, and Miley wasn't perfect, but he did chew up some innings for A.J. Hinch. Now it's Joe Smith. In his 13th big league season, returned to the Astros after the All-Star break, following surgery to repair a ruptured Achilles tendon that cost him the first half of the season. He faces the catcher, Travis d'Arnaud, and starts him with a strike.
Kitty, I always liked having a guy like this. Such a different look that from everybody else. You know, you got the underneath, you're going to have the sink, the sweeping slider. It's not the same as power. Different looks in the bullpen, different looks in your rotation. Makes it harder on hitters to adjust from day to day.
Ball.
Garcia at third, Lau at first. And the 1-1 pitch to d'Arnaud, but first Smith wheels, pegs over to first, and Lau is back easily. Conk.
Yeah, they're checking to make sure he's all right, having followed that finger. Fortunately, it was at the end of the swing, and it looked like he had started to slow down.
In the air to right. Brantley, edge of the track for the catch, but it'll bring a run home as Garcia tags and scores. It's 10-3.
You know, a lot of times you'll talk about how, oh, that's a meaningless run. You know, they're going to win 9-3 or whatever. But every run you tack on a lot of times changes who you bring in your bullpen.
Sure.
So now they can rest. You know, they continue to build this lead. They're going to rest the bigger guys more and more. The guys that you're going to want to use a lot tomorrow to try to shut down this Astros lineup.
Probably won't see Pagan.
Nope. Castillo.
Castillo.
Anderson. Pache. That Castillo boy, he's got a special arm.
Kevin Kiermaier started the Rays scoring with a 3-run homer in the second. Here's Tom Verducci.
Yeah, Bob, you have to wonder how important of a moment that was for Kevin Kiermaier. Really the face of the franchise. That was his first at-bat in a postseason game here at Tropicana Field. Remember, Evan Longoria had been the face of the franchise. They traded him December 2017. And a few months later, they locked up Kevin Kiermaier to a 6-year contract.
He pops out to end the inning, but to finish up Tom's point, Kiermaier is the only player remaining on the roster from the last time prior to this year that they made it to the postseason when they went as a wild card in 2013. After 7, 10-3 Rays. Games today for Tropicana Field. Braves and Cardinals are underway in Game 4 on TBS, followed by Dodgers and Nats. Dodgers and Braves lead those respective series 2-1, both on TBS. And then later, the Yankees and Twins wrap it up from Target Field on FS1 with the Yanks leading that series 2-0. Alex Bregman starts it in the top of the 8th and fouls it back, and that one was a lot closer to our booth.
Yeah.
And Jim Cott was intent on making some sort of very dangerous play because we might have had to grab you by the back of your belt buckle to keep you from tumbling to your doom.
What if you spill your coffee?
I've done that before.
What if you spill your coffee?
I didn't.
Worse yet. Bregman has walked, struck out, and singled. Here it is. Judge for yourself.
Bob, why were you pushing it?
That was a subtle move. It was underneath the table. I didn't think anyone would notice.
That's just reaction. I used to love at the stadium, love to try to catch one, but didn't get many up there.
It's a bit of video that will go down in baseball history.
Yeah.
In the year-end highlight reel.
You know, looking at the Astro team, and I think Joe could relate to this, being with so many great teams. See, good teams treat this like an accident.
Yes.
We just had to lose today. You know, big deal. That's an accident. That's not going to happen too often, so they're not going to panic by any means.
It wasn't meant to be today.
Right.
You know, Greinke just didn't have it today.
That's going to make the seats. And it's 2-2 to Bregman. Justin Verlander hoping that the next time he gets the ball, it's against the Yankees or the Twins, and not in a Game 5 against these Rays.
But not a man gotta have if you have a Game 5.
No, it's the guy you want. Rays in the process of getting off the mat and making a series out of this. Up 10-3 in the 8th. Oliver Drake in his second inning of work fans Bregman. He's faced 4 hitters. He's retired them all.
Is this guy closure material, Joe, with stuff like that?
He struggles usually against right-handed hitters a little bit. So I think his niche has been left-handed.
To lefties.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Except Alvarez had a double off him the last time. But he left to split up after throwing a number to him.
Alvarez is 1 for 3 in this game officially. Reached on an error, struck out, and then doubled.
Yeah, I can see what you mean, because that ball's going down and away from the lefty.
Yeah, and it's got a lot of depth to it.
Well, to back up what you said, lefties hit 147 against him, righties 216, so nobody did all that well against him as a group. But he was more effective, this year at least, against lefties. His ERA over his last 23 appearances of the regular season was barely over 2. So Kevin Cash has spotted him effectively, and he's gotten good performances in return.
And to your point, Kitty, the reason that he may not be the closer is because of how good Pagan, Anderson, and Castillo have been.
I guess.
Maybe with some other clubs, he might be closing. But
there's a look at how they got it done so far with Charlie Morton, Roll, Brendan McKay, and now Oliver Drake.
You want to see 100?
Castillo?
You're going to see it.
Alvarez rolls one to the right side. Is there a play from all that distance? No, there isn't. Couldn't throw him out from somewhere near Sarasota. Here is a very quick break. Don't blink.
Get ready for the next pitch with Evan Williams, bourbon done right.
That's the other thing that's changed, Kitty, a little bit. You know, when we used to think of sluggers, we didn't think of guys that really ran extremely well.
True.
Alvarez runs pretty good.
Yeah.
Think about how Aaron Judge runs. I mean, there's some guys that hit the ball along. Mike Trout, Bellinger. I mean, home run hitters that can. I mean, they're great athletes.
Yeah. Well, back in the day when you were an active player, Kitty, you had guys. There's another look at that play, and Alvarez is running from the crack of the bat. And from shallow right field, they couldn't throw him out. And you had guys like Willie Stargell or Harmon Killebrew, big sluggers who couldn't run.
Right.
On the other hand, Willie Mays, Hank Aaron, Mantle when healthy, they could all really run. Adames got him. Gurriel's retired. Alvarez takes second.
Well, an example of that, Bob and Joe, in our studio, we have Cliff Floyd. And when I went to the Arizona Fall League to do games 20-some years ago, the scouting report on Cliff Floyd was Willie McCovey with speed.
We also have Jim Thome.
He couldn't run.
Sorry, Jim.
He often only had to trot, though.
Right.
More than 600 lifetime homers.
But Cliff was one of those guys.
Great athlete.
Yeah.
Great athlete.
I could see that McCovey comparison, especially physical presence.
Right.
Big left-handed hitter, around 6'4".
Low ball hitter.
Yep. Here's Correa. 0 for 3, struck out twice.
And you know what I remember about Cliff Floyd? He hit some of the hardest line drives I ever saw. You know, catching behind him, you were like, oh my goodness.
They didn't have exit velocity then, did they?
No. He didn't have as much launch angle as some of these other taller left-handed Man, could he hit some line drives.
Boy, this guy is, I mean, he has got to be tough to pick up the ball.
I mean, he's got that Bugs Bunny windup where the arm goes way back, right?
Right. He's not throwing the Ephus pitch like Bugs,
No.
but the windup is similar.
It disappears.
Yeah, that's true.
They're just not swinging it 3 times in one at bat, in one swing, one pitch.
Drake is on the verge of giving Kevin Cash 2 very effective innings.
But again, Kitty, you know, we were talking about it. Certain pitchers, their arm goes back.
Yeah.
His goes down, and it gets pretty close to touching the ground. That's, you know, he's got some long arms, obviously, and he doesn't really rock back that far. But his arm goes down; it doesn't go back, and they go straight up.
And the trend these days, they call it forearm flyout. They want the pitcher's arm to come up and almost in the position of a catcher, like a short armor, instead of that long, because it takes the arm more time to catch up.
Top foul at the plate.
Yeah,
you know, they teach you perseverance in all the branches of the military, and we told you that Oliver Drake graduated from the Naval Academy. He's been with 7 different organizations since the start of 2017, and last year alone he was designated for assignment 5 times. And here he is pitching and pitching well in the postseason.
And look at that motion. Yeah, from pitching hand almost touches the ground.
Yeah. And his head, you see the head tilt. I mean, he's looking at the ground when he releases it.
Yeah. Works for him.
The 2-2 is popped into shallow right. Garcia calls, and that's that for the Astros in the 8th. To the bottom half, with the Rays leading by 7. This is the Doosan ALDS telecast on MLB Network, presented by Geico.
By Evan Williams Burton. He was effective this afternoon inside the drop. Al Leiter, how good was his curveball?
They were good. I'll tell you what, Charlie Morton was good. I don't know if it was that good.
Pretty good.
A little curveball piece, but I guarantee you, Bob. Oh! He wasn't that good. Let's stick to Morton.
So Harold ropes one back up the middle, and then Al plunks him in the back.
That's reason to go get him.
Yeah, that's what pitchers do.
Yeah, so I've heard and observed. Bottom of the 8th, Willie Adames jumps on the first one, stings it into center for a leadoff hit. Adames has a single, a double, a home run, and a walk.
Give him one more at bat for the cycle.
Yeah, but you know, Harold and Greg and Al, the focus was on Charlie Morton. And when you look back at this game, 10-3, well, big deal. It's a laugher. But what Charlie Morton did to navigate the first couple innings with all those pitches, and as Charlie did in the wild card game, and Kevin said, hey, he's a veteran. He's going to get through this. That was huge for a manager, isn't it, Joe?
Oh, huge. And you know, he had 1 clean inning.
Yeah.
The 5th, the last inning. 6 hitters in the first inning, 4. I mean, they had traffic on all day, but they couldn't score. I mean, they had the 1 home run by Altuve. Charlie Morton, you know, happy, sad, you know.
Yeah.
Same
old Charlie. Yeah.
And he had Uncle Charlie today. Lord Charlie, as you called him.
Lord Charles.
Here's Josh James out of the Astro bullpen. Try and get them through the 8th here. Adames greeted him with a single. Colin Poche gets up in the Rays pen. You look at Charlie Morton and how placid he seems. It reminds me of the old Vin Scully line about Bert Hooton. Bert Hooton was just kind of a flatlining guy, no matter what was going on. It could be New Year's Eve.
Right.
what the heck it was. He didn't display much emotion. A line drive to right that drops for a base hit. Adames stops at second. Duffy has his second hit of the game. 2 on, nobody out. So after a big win by Bert Hooton, Vin said, You know, Bird is enjoying this so much. After the game, he's going to go out and paint the town beige.
So, Joe, from having seen this Tampa Bay team, you get the picture that when they get rolling like this, they can keep it going.
I'm telling you, this is a dangerous team. Why? Because they have pitching, and whenever you have pitching, you have an opportunity to win every game. I know if you look at this matchup, you're looking at Houston and you're saying they have pitching, they have offense, they have defense. Well, these guys can score runs too. If they can hit the ball out of the ballpark like they've done today, and I think you have an MVP candidate one day in Austin Meadows if he puts it all together. If he has months like he did early on the year, April and May, and then you look at September. He's a little bit off right now, but
so
they're a dangerous team.
His story about Austin Meadows. I do the AAA championship game. Durham was in it last year. There you see up at the top.
10 out of 81, down 0-2, came back to win a best-of-5 series. Most of those would have been division series, but between 1969 and through 1984, the LCS was a best-of-5. Became a best-of-7 in 85. Altuve flips to Correa. They get one. On to first, a double play.
Yeah, Durham was in the AAA championship game 2 years in a row. So 2 years ago, behind the cage, I see that he looks like a stud, like a
yes.
flame. And I didn't mean him, so I introduced. I said, "And what is your name, young man?" Austin Meadows. And he has become, like you said, he's the whole package.
I mean, when you look at their team, he's from a position standpoint, he has the highest ceiling.
Yeah.
Now, whether he ever reaches that ceiling, you know, we will find out. But I think Adames has a high ceiling. Lau has a pretty high. I mean, and the other guys have just done a great job of mixing and matching. Tommy Pham's a 2020. You know, the last 3 years in a row, one of 5 guys that have done that. I mean, they have power, they have speed, they have a lot of things going for them.
So after Meadows hits into the double play, Adames takes third and Pham bats with 2 out. He hit 21 home runs this year, and to become a 2020 man, he stole 25 bases in 29 attempts. The Rays have 10 runs on 12 hits. The Astros have 3 on 7 hits. Each team has committed an error. The Astros have left 7. The Rays have left 4. 4 of Tampa Bay's 12 hits have been for the distance.
You know what I love about their offensive day? It's not so much the home runs, but everyone contributed. When you think of this win, this was a great team offensive win, as well as the pitching staff. But I mean, everyone has really contributed to this win.
Normally, if in fact the Rays hang on here and win it, we'd leave the air by saying, hey, game 4 tomorrow, so-and-so against so-and-so. But we don't know.
Well, I think, didn't AJ kind of
we can guess, but we don't know for sure.
But he kind of has a pretty good idea.
They both probably have an idea.
Yeah.
They're just not telling us
they don't want to
flat out.
it yet. Yeah.
Shortly after we leave, we will hear.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, back to your point, I think in Kevin Cash's press conference, he said we don't have the core players, these studs like Justin Verlander. We don't have the 7 core players. We have a versatile team, and I use the whole roster.
Plus about 35 more that they used this year.
Here's the 3-2 pitch. And Pham walks. We know for sure it won't be Miley, who much of the year was either their number 3 or 4 starter. He threw 63 pitches today. And here is tonight's, or today's, Doosan winning together moment of the game. The 4 home runs. The first by Kiermaier.
Well, as Tom
and then
pointed
G-Man
out, what a
Choi.
great moment that was for him.
High changeup. High changeup to Choi. Adames got into the act. Pretty special. And I actually think tomorrow it will be louder and there'll be a bigger crowd.
Yep.
G-Man Choi, 1 for 3. The one was a home run in the 3rd. And you can throw in a walk.
And I'd be careful throwing G-Man down there, especially breaking balls down in the zone. He loves to hit those and elevate them into the seats. So he got a changeup today.
Josh James on the mound is the 5th Houston pitcher today. The Rays have used 4. Kevin Cash flatly said he wouldn't say who would start it, but it's a bullpen game for him. We might see Jose Urquidy tomorrow, who has been impressive, small sample, but impressive so far for the Astros. So he put himself on the map and into Houston's postseason plans late in the regular season. So that's a possibility for the Astros, but nothing is definite.
So the question is, Kitty, right? Is Glass now a part of that equation, right? It's a kid coming off and a guy that has a really, really bright future, right? Through 4 1/3 innings, 70+ pitches. Is
Tyler Glass now?
Yeah. Does he fit into that equation at all?
Absolutely.
I just wonder if the injury will keep them from using him.
Well, that's why you have medical teams.
Yeah.
And check it out. But we talked about him before the game. There he is, 6'8", and Cy Young type stuff.
I mean, is that the bullpen? He's in the bullpen today. Now, I'd love to see if he's got his spikes on it. Doesn't really look like it.
Broken bat grounder foul. At least it sounded like a broken bat. I love that Game 1 matchup between Altuve and Glasnow.
Yeah.
Glasnow 6'8", Altuve 5'6", kind of a David and Goliath deal, and it was Altuve who won it with the home run.
And it was a home run that was about 4'8". It was about, it's 4 feet 8 inches above the ground that he got to that high. Nobody else was getting to it, but he did.
Full count. Adames at third, Pham at first. And the chant of G-Man Choi, G-Man Choi.
Think about, too, like G-Man Choi. He's been with a number of organizations. I think the Angels. I had him with the Yankees, the Brewers here. It was released by clubs, and now you're in the playoffs, and they're chanting your name. I mean, that's perseverance.
Right.
Strike 3. Choi thought he might have had the walk. Instead, he's punched out. The Rays will take a 7-run lead to the top of the 9th. 2 clubs win tonight at Target Field. There'll also be a Game 4 in that series with the Yankees both on FS1. The Cardinals lead the Braves in the bottom of the 4th at Busch Stadium, 3-1, trying to even that series at 2 apiece. Later, it's the Dodgers and the Nats with LA leading 2-1. There'll be no National League Baseball tomorrow. Those series either end or there's a travel day and they go back to Atlanta and or Los Angeles. Colin Poche into the game to try and finish it up for the Rays. First man he faces is Robinson Chirinos.
Joe was telling me about his fastball. He's got some serious heat.
Yeah, he does. And he does not throw as hard as some of the other guys, but they talk about rise in baseball. He was #1, right? And 275 strikeouts in the 174 2/3 innings in the minor leagues. Guys just do not get on top of his fastball when he throws it up in the zone. They swing and miss, swing right under it.
Low ball umpire.
Yes, we talked about that.
Poche pitched a scoreless 8th with the Rays already down 6-2 in Game 1 of this series. A little pop back of second base, and retreating to take it is Lau. This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Office of the Commissioner of Baseball and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without express written consent. So now with 1 out in the 9th, it's Aledmus Diaz who pinch hit for Josh Reddick in the 6th and fly to right. Finishing up on Poche, at least when it comes to this series. He also faced one batter in game 2. It was Kyle Tucker. He struck him out to end the 8th. So he's done well to this point against Houston in October.
And see how high that pitch was? Kyle Tucker tried to hit that one right.
Yeah. Well, when we ought to clarify that, I guess you said rise, and I know there's physics people or whatever say no, a ball can't rise. No, it can't. But this one rides. It holds its plane through the zone more so than most.
Two and 1. Old school Astro uniform on the right.
Well, you think back to this first inning. What a turn of events, but it looked like Charlie Morton was not going to last long, and Zach Greinke just came out 1-2-3. And then Kevin Kiermaier kind of changed the direction of that.
Charlie Morton threw 31 pitches. As you talk about the first inning, did not look sharp, gave up a home run. Zach Greinke threw like 9 pitches in the first inning.
Diaz fans, and the Astros are down to their last out.
You know, the one thing I look forward to tomorrow in this series is to see if the tarps are a little bit higher tomorrow.
Sell a few more seats.
Sell a few more seats. It's got to be fun for these Rays players to have this kind of emotion in their home ballpark. They don't always see it a lot of times. There'll be a lot of Red Sox fans that come in, a lot of Yankee fans come in. But this is a special crowd today.
Springer's 0 for 4. We told you early in the game that the capacity here, the way they reconfigured it, knowing that they weren't drawing that many people, is just 25,000, but it expanded to around 35,000 today. And the attendance has to be pretty close to that 35,000. And they were loud from the start. A fly ball to right. Garcia takes it. Poche works a 1-2-3 ninth. And the Rays get back in the series, defeating Alex Bregman and the Astros 10-3. Well, Charlie Morton gets the win. How many elimination games has this guy taken the ball in just in the last few years?
Well,
right?
don't be surprised if you see him in Game 5 at some point if they get there.
He's going to put that on his license plate.
Yeah.
Mr. Elimination.
And today's Old Dominion carry the freight player of the game is, in fact, Charlie Morton.
Charlie Morton had an outstanding breaking ball today. He had 8 strikeouts. I believe he had 5 of them on breaking balls, curveballs, had some on some fastballs. Just kept these Astro hitters off balance. They made him work. Yeah. But in the end, he won out, giving only up to 1 solo home run to Altuve in the first inning.
Look at that. ERA, a microscopic 0.95, 4-0 in 4 elimination games.
Got a pitch tomorrow, Charlie. Let's go.
So we're talking about the wild card game. We're talking about this game, and we're talking about 2 Game 7s in 2017 for the Astros. Here's Tom.
Thanks, Bob. I'll start with Kevin Kiermaier. Kevin, you were down 1-0 in a game facing elimination. You flipped this game with one swing, a 3-run homer. Zach Greinke tried to double up on the changeup. What was the key to the approach?
Yeah, you know, they've been hammering me with a bunch of off speed, and I figured either changeup or a slider was coming right there, and you know, I got a changeup out of the plate, and it felt good to barrel it up, and I knew I got it, so it felt good. We needed that as a team. You know, we just been waiting for that big hit this whole series, and we're so much better when we play with the lead. So for us to go up 2 right there early was huge, and let Charlie do his thing from there on out. And then, you know, a lot of extra homers there to give us some insurance runs was great. But like I said, when we score early, we're really good rather than playing from behind. So it felt good to put us up right there and get some momentum in the building.
Kevin, for you personally, a 31st round pick by the Rays back in 2010, longest tenured player here. To have that first at bat here at Tropicana Field in the postseason, describe the moment.
Yeah, I didn't even think of that. That's a great point. It's great. This place, you know, we fill it out. It's electric. It's electric in here, and you know, for the playoffs, obviously we're gonna have a full house. So when I hit it and hear the fans' reaction, and you know, just run around the base, not feeling my feet hit the ground, is a great feeling. So hopefully we can have many more to come like that. But you know, it's been a long time since we've had a playoff game in this building. So first at bat right there for me. Pretty fitting way to start it out.
And finally, you mentioned Charlie Morton. He's pitched 4 times with his team facing elimination. He has won every game. That's impressive. What impresses you about Charlie?
Everything, everything. He's nothing ever bothers him. He's so composed. It just seems like it's just another game for him. And we, like I said, coming in to the field today, we all knew it was at stake. We have to win or our season's over. Couldn't ask for a better guy on the mound. And Charlie, he's just cool, calm, and collective up there. He's such a pro on and off the field. And I'll go to battle with that man any day of the week.
Kevin, thanks. I want to talk to your home run partner.
Talk to him. Thanks.
Brandon Lau. Brandon, not many hitters have squared up that curveball from Zach Greinke. You got him first pitch. Was that something you were anticipating?
Just really, you know, trying to see something up. I knew my first at bat, I got 2 curveballs, and I just missed the first one. So I figured, you know, something like that's going to be coming again, and this time don't miss it.
This is a young team facing elimination today, and pretty much everybody in the lineup RSVP to the party today. Describe the vibe before this game coming into a game facing elimination.
Everyone's just motivated. You know, we got a lot of fight left in this team, and, you know, being down 2-0 isn't going to do anything to us, man. We're ready to play some more baseball.
Charlie Morton today. Tomorrow sounds like a bullpen game. What are you expecting in game 4?
Hopefully more of the same from today. You know, the past 3 games, they've been nothing but incredible for us, and, you know, we got to put up runs for them. You know, they've been shutting down a very powerful offense in the Astros, and, you know, hopefully tomorrow we come out and the bats are still alive.
Brandon, thanks so much. Congratulations. Back to you, Bob.
All right, Tom, and the other guy we ought to mention, we got Brandon Lau in, we got Kevin Kiermaier in, Charlie Morton, Willie Adames, single, double, homer, walked in his other plate appearance, 3 for 3, big impact.
Yeah, and he's been known for his glove, but he started to improve offensively when he became more aggressive the second half, and it's carried over into these playoffs. So a great day for Adames. Can't wait for tomorrow.
And I think Charlie's poise, Kevin Kiermaier's bat turned it around for the Rays.
All right, currently on TBS, you can catch the Braves and the Cardinals, and later today it's the Dodgers and the Nats, also on TBS, followed by Yankees Twins on FS1. Tomorrow on FS1, it's the Astros and the Rays for Game 4 here at Tropicana Field, followed by Yankees Twins if the Twins win tonight at Target Field and force a Game 4. Coming up next, MLB Tonight, presented by Evan Williams Bourbon with Greg Amsinger, Harold Reynolds, and Al Leiter. For Jim